Beautiful Connecticut, where we're escaping most of the bad weather that's surging across the country. Started a few minutes early because I have to get out of here by 3 p.m. at the latest. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. It's going to be hard for me to do that because hang on a second, let me get this muted. Okay. Sorry about that. Because there's so much speculation in the Nikon camp. And it's not just things going on in Nikon. Of course, Canon just released a obligatory statement asking for everybody to be patient because they can't meet the demand on the new camera bodies that they have out. However, I've got to give them a pass. I mean, with the number of cameras that they are actually putting out, I can understand why it may be difficult. And you'll understand, because Nikon hasn't been putting anything out, why I've been so hard on Nikon. However, it would appear that we're about to receive some information. I know everybody's being very conservative about how they feel about what's going on in the Nikon camp, and they're going to make sure that they don't overstep their bounds and provide a lot of hope or whatever. These are people that have YouTube channels, and of course, they're going to be very conservative on what they think. However, considering the timing on everything that's gone on and where Nikon sits right now, needing to fill out their camera lineup, I think we can pretty much count on something here real soon. We'll talk about that in just a minute on when we could expect something. But also, Sony just announced a new 50 millimeter 1.4. I've seen some of the reviews. It looks good. But of course, in the Sony camp, a lot of people are saying why. The only reason I could expect they would develop a 1.4 50 millimeter, which they already have, I guess it's a Zeiss collaboration, and they have the 51.2, is the fact that it looks like it's going to be about $700 cheaper than their 51.2 G Master. So that's good news for those that are looking for something with a little bigger aperture, a little faster. Well, it's a lot faster. I mean, 1.4 is nothing, not a slouch. So happy for those that are in the Sony camp, and hope that they're happy as well. Sorry, multitasking here behind the scenes. So hello to everybody that's already in here. And I've seen a lot of people already. Comments are already I've been answering a few. D Moots, who may or may not make it today. He's busy. But hello, Michael McDermott. I'm glad to see you're in here. And we'll get to some of your questions in a minute. Although I think I began to give you an answer. Albert, always great to see you, man. And again, always great to see you join the show whenever you can. So I know you're busy. I know you have a job. Let's see. Martin Hild, I'm in. Just got to get me some munchies. Of course, he says hi to everybody. Excuse me. Good morning, RS. Alan Barnes, evening for you. David Brandsma, good day, Chuck. Moved south yet? Nope. Haven't moved south yet, but every day we get a little bit closer. It's slowed down quite a bit here recently because of other things going on in life and everything else, but I'm going to get there. And Daryl asks, so you would rather they release a camera they know they can't supply? At this point, Daryl, it's a different world we live in with Nikon. And yes, I would, because at least then people have something to look forward to, not just look forward to, but plan for. And that's been one of my complaints about Nikon being so silent is, I understand for those that don't feel the same way, they don't care, they'll get it when they get it and everything else. But some of us like to plan ahead and be able to put money aside or sell other equipment or things like that. And as crazy as that sounds to a lot of people out there, it really makes a difference for us. So yeah, I'd rather hear about it. And I mean, is there anybody out there that really doesn't want to hear Nikon, anything that Nikon has coming up? So many people have talked about having a camera map, just like they do a lens roadmap. I don't think Nikon's going to do that, or any other manufacturer for that matter. But if you're asking that question, or if you're stating they should, then you probably are like me and others that want to hear about what's coming up, what's coming down the road. I understand cameras are a little more technical, and things change so rapidly. And just like I think we're all going to see, whatever is announced by Nikon, there'll be a lot of people that may be disgruntled because there'll be features in this new camera that you probably don't see in the Z9. And I know everybody thinks that Nikon is going to be Nikon of old, and nothing's going to trump the flagship. But I got a feeling, and I'll just give you a heads up right now, get ready, because I think there are going to be some things in this new body that are going to not just rival, but exceed what you see in the Z9. We shall see, though. We shall see. Manila Martin in Manila. Albert saying hello to everybody. Greg Wilson. Hey, Chuck, thanks for thinking about me. Yes, buddy. And I think that still may be available. I haven't seen you respond, but if you would like that lens, by the way, if there's anybody out there, and there'll be a rush to the emails here, I guess, that wants an 800 PF and is so far down the list you can't see the bottom of it or the top of it, there may be one available. If you'll send me an email, I'll put you in contact with the individual that has the opportunity to pick that lens up, and he would be happy to pass it on to you at cost. So just send an email to chuckomail@yahoo.com, and I'll link you up. I hope it's still available. Ray Powell, good evening from Berwick upon Tweed. I love saying that. I love seeing it. Thanks, Ray. I hope you're well. Briar's in here, Mega Briar Patch. So Z Wade Photo, hey fam, busy at work, YouTube stuff, but wanted to say hi. Thanks, appreciate it, Zach. Didn't send you a link because I know you're at work. You're another one that has a typical 40-hour work week, so glad you could drop in at least during lunch from time to time. 74 today in Alabama, David says. Yeah, you guys, I guess, are expected or could possibly get some adverse weather down there. Not of the snow type, but of, rain and wind. And I don't know. I'm sure you're keeping an eye on it, though. Jay Kimmer, hello. Yeah, glad you made it in, man. J Rod Photo, hello, folks from Maryland. Thanks, James. It's good to see you here, Jim. And I'd be happy to send you a link, but I think you're another one that may be at work, so that may not be possible for you. Long Rider, good to see you, buddy. And I'm still waiting to get you in the chat or get you in the on the panel. I do want some other brands on the panel from time to time. Yes, I am Nikon centric because I shoot Nikon. If I was, a Sony shooter, let's just say, then I'd have people asking me why I always talked about Sony. So I hope you guys understand. But everybody is welcome. And if you want to be on the panel to talk about your brand, you're more than welcome. That's what this is supposed to be, a community where we can all talk about photography, which of course includes gear. And hey, welcome in Mr. Andre from
hello. Malta.
Malta. Yes. Why couldn't I say that? I wanted to say, I don't know why I wanted to say something else, but good to see you.
Good to see you too. Like your shirt.
Thank you. Yes. Another addition to the AP Studios. We're beginning to build our branding. I don't know why, but it's just fun to do. Walk around with your brand on your back. But thanks. Appreciate that, Andre. How are you today?
Very well. I just finished my work day, let's say, and I jumped into my music room to say hello to our community. Our loyal community, I would say.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. By the way, Nikon sent me it. I have it here, the Z8.
That's great.
No,
You
no,
got
no.
a first look. There it is. It is reality now. Andre has the prototype. All right.
Yes, yes. I'm sure everyone is excited about the developments, but because finally it looks like we're not that far away from the much anticipated announcement, obviously.
Yes, of whatever it is, whether it's a
Mhm.
Z6III, Z7III, or Z8. But I have a feeling it will be the Z8, but who knows? And Daryl, don't get me wrong. I want to know about next camera, but we just spent the last year complaining about Nikon not being able to keep up with the supply for the Z9. I agree 100%. And here I am, the guy that was doing all the ranting. You're absolutely right. But you know what? I have now stepped back because I understand Nikon can't produce on the level of the other manufacturers. So now, if I want to be a Nikon shooter, I have to accept that fact. But I would still like to know what's on the stove, so to speak. And we may not get all the information all the time from Nikon. And I'm not saying that they changed their tune yet, but on this announcement thing, a lot of people I said are being very conservative about what they think about it. It's just a rumor, blah, blah, blah. However, it coincides with timing right now. Nikon, we know, has to do something, and they need to do it sooner rather than later. So I'm going to go along with this rumor about this meeting and just take it for what it is and expect that Nikon will announce something. I don't know when. A lot of people are speculating they're holding off for the new fiscal or financial year so that the camera falls into the sales fall into the new financial year. However, that doesn't mean they can't announce it sooner than April 1st. So the other thing that we might find that they have done, I'm not going to say that I believe they have it, but there is the possibility that this camera has been in development for a while, meaning it's gone into production because they had the hardware where they wanted it, and now it's just a firmware thing. So I expect to
Chuck.
hear something. Something's got to leak soon. That's the way I see it right now. Go ahead, Andre.
Yesterday, actually, I visited the site of Ken Rockwell because from time to time he has some very interesting observations, and I was reading his review on the Z9 and some interesting observations from his end in relation to the Z8. Why am I saying this? Because he's saying it's easy to get your Z9. This is from his review. Do as I did. Order it and be patient. And he highlights it. And then he says this: most people don't realize that these come in and go out to people like me who have had them on order all the time without ever showing as in stock because they never make it to stock. There are so many back orders that they never show as stock, while people who have them order get theirs all the time. Order yours and be. So I think this is a pattern which, with all the anticipation and the build-up, if it has to be the Z9 or the Z6III, etc., I think we should all be prepared to experience the same pattern, basically, because the more anticipating the build-up to a certain model is, the less we should expect it to be, available in stock, get it delivered tomorrow kind of approach. So I thought that was interesting. In fact, he says you can't wait to find one in stock. Order yours now, and it will ship as soon as it comes in, long before you'll ever see them marked as in stock sitting on a shelf.
No, he's right about that, and the fact that I've talked about it before. If you have a favored store that you purchase from, other than the big giants like B&H, Adorama, and so on and so forth, here in America at least, if that's the route you're going, then just be prepared for a wait because it's hard to get in on the very top of the list when the sales go live. But if you have a small store, there's a very good chance, if you have been talking to them and you typically trade with them, that you may find yourself in a better position to get a camera body or a lens earlier. So I would encourage everybody to do that wants it immediately. And so many people will say they're not going to buy it immediately. They want to wait and see, the shakeout and blah, blah, blah. And I understand that too. However, then you can't complain about being at the bottom of a list somewhere down the road. And I'm not saying that they do that, but the bottom line is you'll have to wait for however long. On that note, I just have a feeling that this may be in our hands earlier than what the Z9 was. The Z9 was a phenomena in Nikon, brand new everything. It's so new. The price point was so right for that body that of course,
revolutionary.
Yes, absolutely. For Nikon, especially, brand new AF system and everything else that brought it up to where everybody else is and exceeds everybody in some ways where they may exceed the Z9 in other ways. But my point is that, and going back to Michael McDermott talking about, he's heard the rumor, no Nikon bodies yet until spring and summer. Well, it is spring. I mean, we're on the verge of spring already. So yes, an April release would be spring. And he's particularly talking about Nikon rumors. I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm sure that's where you heard it, Michael, that there would be no announcements at CP Plus. That probably is absolutely true. No formal announcement. But again, I say the cat is out of the bag. Everyone knows and speculates now for something sooner rather than later. And I do believe that there may be leaks that are forthcoming. And a leak, and everybody can say they don't trust leaks or whatever. However, again, timing. Look at what look at what's transpired. We haven't had a major body announcement. I don't include the Z30 in this for almost a year and a half now. I mean, coming up on March is when Nikon posted their development announcement, March of 21, the development announcement for the Z9. That gave us a heads up. That's all I've been asking for is things like that to let us know. However, I did get very disgruntled about the whole Nikon Professional Services, club. I do believe NPS members should get, first look or first, because they've gone through the process to become an NPS member. And more than likely they are in some professional capacity as a photographer. Okay, I'll go along with that. My beef was the fact that it was open for over a month for them and they kept bumping people back because they couldn't make their mind up. So somebody at the end of that first month decided they wanted it. They just bumped somebody else back on the list. I didn't think that was right. I think there should be something up front. A few days or whatever, and a pro should know whether they want the camera or the lens or whatever, within a few days, and they shouldn't be given preferential treatment a month after the fact. So that was my beef. But yeah, I'll answer those questions, and I'll share with you when I feel like you're absolutely right and I'm wrong.
Couple of comments. Boots wrote that he might be joining the stream later, and J-Rod Photo Art is requesting gold to smash the like button. So
I appreciate that. I really do. Yes. Smash the like button, folks.
Yes. Chuck, just some thoughts from my end as to what I feel the next body should. I don't expect it to be a Z9 or a baby Z9, but something which I would really like to see as a standard besides the autofocusing engine of the Z9 is the shutter cover that it closes automatically, to protect it from the dust. I think that's very important. And possibly the shutterless mechanism, sort of the removal of the mechanical shutter. I think that would be a nice way forward to see the direction, that they implemented the shutterless at Z9 Pro flagship level. Then it's being slowly transitioning into the other 2023 sort of latest models, latest bodies. I don't know if you agree with me.
No, I do agree. I do believe that we're going to see. I'll go out on a limb here, and again, you guys can beat me up later if I'm wrong, but I do believe that what comes now will be shutterless. I think Nikon's got that down. The Z9 was a huge success in that technology. We haven't, they've learned from the Z9 on issues that they have with the shutterless camera. And they've done firmware patches to fix that, like flickering LEDs because of being shutterless. And they gave us a firmware update that allows you to go to fractions of a second instead of the typical 1/25th, 1/30th, 1/50th, whatever of a second. And that seemed to fix that problem for those that were having that issue. And it was mainly sports shooters in arenas and things that had banners, LED banners in the background, and you could see the flickering. But anyway, I think that they've pretty much mastered that technology, and I do believe that it will show up in this next body, whatever it is, or bodies. And of course, the sensor cover, the little shield, not from impact, but from dust and things like that. I believe that's going to be a standard piece in all the cameras to come as well, especially if they're shutterless. And I agree with you, John.
Sorry, go ahead.
Jeff and Leslie, I agree with you. The 2 to 600, again, I'll say it, it needs to come out. We need to see that sooner rather than later, because there are a lot of people that are waiting for that lens. And it's nice to see Nikon give us the 85 1.2 and possibly the 35 1.2, here at least maybe this year. And we assume it'll be a 35 1.2. And I think I saw something that might indicate that somebody knows that it will be already on one of their videos. I think it was one of those moments that they said something and immediately covered it with, well, we believe it because it's on the same line as the 85 and the 50 1.2. Okay, I'll go along with that. I don't think he meant to say, authoritatively, it will be a 35 1.2, but I think he knows. Anyway, so you can look forward to that this year, I believe. We shall see.
I can see that I'm also in the chat. I love following his channel too.
Okay, I'll be down there to all those in just a minute. Okay. Rakesh, good to see you. I just want to continue to go down the list here real quick, and then we'll get into more conversation. Long Rider, I'm at work. Nikon rep just came. Let's see. Nikon rep just came to the precinct to file a harassment complaint against you. Well, tell them to hold off on it just yet, because I'm in a better space right now mentally. Art ATR Bear, hey Ted, good to see you in here. Yeah, I see 247 says J Rod, you're always on the wanted list. Let's see. I'm almost there. David, good to see you. Good day to fellow photographers, he says. And David, there's an invitation if you'd like to join us. I haven't been sending out invitations lately, but I thought for today, because there is a lot of news or a lot of talk to cover. And again, it's not just Nikon, the Canon folks out there with the latest, there will be a delay in providing some of the camera bodies and things. I think that's just because they're overwhelmed with the number of bodies that they have in production right now. And that's a good thing. I'll tell you that right now. I'd rather Nikon be in that boat, to be honest. Let's see. Let's talk Mamiya. What's new? What's new, Jim? You throw it out there and we'll talk about it.
Mega Brian Patch is asking if the 200, if we think that the 200-600 will have an internal zoom like the Sony. From my end, I hope so, because I think that's it should be on that level in terms of, that the zoom is, the lens doesn't change balance and size and whatnot, that it's internal, the zoom. So yeah, hopefully it is.
Yeah, it's a non-S lens, or at least that's the way it's been promoted on the roadmap. So I don't know, because you're talking about more cost, I believe, with internal zoom, and that's a big zoom to produce internally. So hats off to Sony if theirs is, and as you say, I don't know. But yeah, that would be fantastic. I think the big thing everybody's waiting for is to see the aperture, max aperture on that. Is whether it's going to be a standard across the zoom, or if it's going to be a variable aperture. And I got to believe it's going to be a variable aperture. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a bad lens. I'm sure everybody would like to see it a standard f6, a 5.6 maybe. But I think you're probably going to see, let's just be not conservative, but be hopeful, 4.5 to 6.3. I think somewhere in that range is what we're going to see.
I think, Chuck, in relation to the, let's say, Z8, if it's oriented, I think we might see some innovation with regards to the articulation of the screen. So I believe body size, it will be similar to the Z6, Z7, maybe a bit bulkier, maybe. So sort of the shift we saw from the D750 to the D850 kind of approach. And I'll also think that it will, similar to the Z9, it will have the uniformity in terms of cards. So it won't be like SD, CF. You'll have both CF Express.
I think everybody would like to see it be both CF Express B cards. And we'll have to wait and see. I mean, there's still a possibility it's going to be, whatever it is, these cameras that are coming out, it's going to be a 2-card camera, no doubt about it. But the question is, will it be 2 CF Express B cards or a CF Express B and SD? I don't know. Nikon's been very innovative, for a while on cards in camera. They were the first with XQD, and everybody thought, well, this isn't going anywhere. And look where we're at today, because that was the predecessor to the CF Express B cards. So, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna also depend on space in the body, and that's yet another thing that everybody's talking about. If we see the Z8, they want to see it in a larger body. I don't know whether we will or not, but Nikon's been innovative lately with the Z9. So there is the possibility that you could see a new body size or type for a Z8 or Z6 or Z7III. And there's a lot of almost arguments going on in the Nikon community, especially over on Nikon Rumors. The Nikon Z8 is going to be the D50 replacement. This harkens back to the D700 replacement years ago. When are we going to see the D700? People fall in love with the body, and then they want another body just like that with maybe some new tech or whatever in it. I think the Z8, everybody calling the Z8 the new D850 in mirrorless is just because of the 8. Everybody's concentrating on 850 or 800, 810, 850. So the Z8 has to be that type of camera. And it could be. But then again, we're still looking at what would the Z7III be. And oh, by the way, I'll just go out on a limb here as well and say they're not going to get rid of the Z7 series. I don't believe that for a minute. And my thoughts way back in June were the Z8 would be the baby Z9. That still remains to be seen. We'll see how that goes. And the Z7III would be the ultra megapixel camera for all those that shoot portrait, product, landscape, and things like that. And I may be completely wrong, but if the Z8 is that camera, then I hope the Z7 III is the camera that I expect. So there you have it. I'm not worried about them eating into the Z9 sales. I'm over with that. I don't even like hearing everybody talk about it. Those days are gone, I think, because all the other makers are making sure that all this technology is being passed down in the lineup. So I think Nikon has to follow suit, not because they're doing it, but because we want that. And Joe Max asking you, Jeff. Jeff said, you know, he's on the verge of pulling the trigger on a Canon. And you know, Jeff, just like I've told everybody else that's asked me, not necessarily in the stream, but offline, you know, what should I do? I can't tell anybody to wait anymore. I can't say that. You got to do what you feel is right, man. And if you found something in Canon that you like better than what's being offered right now in Nikon, hey, no problem. You'll get no argument with me. You know, I understand completely. I really do.
I'm seeing a comment here from Michael McDermott saying that he's a Fujifilm Extron sensor type of guy. Do you own any Fuji bodies, Chuck?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay.
But
I'm actually...
neither do I own a Canon or a Sony body, for that matter.
I'm actually streaming with a Fuji X-T20.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I gave it you know, good use. It was one of those things where I wanted to, you know, just give a shot to the preset, sort of the film simulations, they call them.
Yeah.
And lots of the inclusion of a lot of manual dials, similar to the DF sort of vibe. So yeah, but I love that brand too, in terms of what they do and how they manage to penetrate the medium format niche market, you know.
Well, technology's allowed APS-C and Micro Four Thirds to progress up to, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with those cameras anymore. I know a lot of people want to bash one or the other, but I don't think we can anymore.
Yes.
Again, technology.
And even the focusing, you know, I mean, it's a 2017 technology, but the autofocus is, for video, it's just fine. So sometimes we always, as you say, Chuck, we always want.
Yep.
And over the weekend, I said, listen, I have an X-T20. Why don't I use it for streaming? And I don't have to bother if I want a Z6 to stay unplugging it, removing the HDMI cable and all this hassle. So, you know, sometimes we don't appreciate what we have.
You're absolutely right. And again, it all boils down to what you want. And, you know, I'm going to do a shirt that says that justification is
I had no doubt.
I want it, therefore I need it. Hey, we got a new guest in here. Everybody welcome Miss Claire. Claire School of Photography. How you doing, Claire?
Hi.
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Hi, Claire.
We're doing well. I hope you are as well.
Yeah, I've only got about 10 minutes, but I just didn't want to miss the chance to come on and say hello. So, yeah, here I am.
Okay. Well,
very good. I think you need to put on headphones, Claire, because we're hearing your echo.
Does that mean I need...
You can actually go to the setting. The little snowflake icon. Click that.
Yeah. Okay.
And go to audio, and it will give you the opportunity to get rid of the echo. You see echo cancellation, and noise suppression. Click both of those so they're on, and I think you'll be fine.
Okay. That looks.
Or it's easier maybe just to put on headphones for now, like like I'm
for now.
doing.
Like
So I think I need a. Did I play?
Just headphones.
just headphones.
Just had.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we'll give her a minute to connect here.
Connect here.
All right.
It must be 5:30 for you, Claire, I imagine, in the afternoon.
It is. Yeah.
Yes.
That's perfect. Great.
Oh.
Because I'm an hour in front of you. I'm from Malta. I'm also a European based
Oh
photographer.
wow. Hi.
Yeah, so somebody brought up Sigma just announced 3 lenses for the Z mount. They're all APS-C, which should make APS-C folks happy because they're beginning to fill out the APS-C line for Nikon, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it would also indicate that we're going to see Sigma in the full frame lens Z mount production here before long. And that's a good thing. More lenses, better.
Claire, from your end, what are your expectations on this possible, new camera being announced? Possibly, again, we don't know as yet.
What camera you're talking about? Sorry.
Possibly the Z8, possibly, or the Z6III.
So I've only my D3, my D800 on the Z for 2 weeks. Apart from that, I've never really cheated on my D3 before. I'm just not.
Claire's one of those individuals
familiar.
is extremely happy with her D3, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Claire, I'd like to ask, which browser are you going through? Are you going through Chrome or Safari or something else?
What web browser are you using for Restream? Are you using Safari?
I ask because your audio is cutting out, and that typically happens when somebody's using Safari or other. Chrome works best.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, and
It's okay.
I'm
We're just
not really
losing
familiar.
part of your sentences.
I see. Right.
We go through
Well,
this with. Can
I
you
join you in-
launch? Can you launch Chrome and come back? Use the same
Yeah.
link in Chrome to come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll get your full sentences.
Cheers.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
We'll bring Mr. Vahagen in. Hey, how are you doing today, buddy?
Oh, yes. In fact, I was just about going to mention Vahagen because I found about Claire through Vahagen, actually. So that's how I became a subscriber. And I was just about to mention you, Vahagen, and there you are.
Hey guys,
How you doing, V?
is my mic on?
Yeah, but it doesn't sound quite as rich as it usually does.
Hold on.
Mark Lynch, I appreciate that, Mark. Watching to like ratio needs attention. Thank you very much, Mark. Yeah, I always appreciate the likes. It's you guys have been great lately. It's been fantastic, and we do have a lot more viewers that are showing up, and I appreciate that. And hopefully that'll actually roll over into more subscribers.
Test.
For all those folks that are watching and haven't subscribed, I'd like to ask you if you would consider subscribing, becoming part of the community, and joining us for chats like this. We do it twice a week, Wednesday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern time, and Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, thought I'd throw that out there. Mr. V.
Testing.
Nope, there's a break in your audio now. I don't
It's
know.
like peaking.
Oh, Safari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I haven't submitted a thing to Restream yet about that. I don't know if there's anything they can do about it, but I need to do that. Let Restream know that this does not run well in Safari. I don't know if Safari restricts bandwidth or what. I don't know. Let's see. So here you go, Jeff. Now, Jeff's a Nikon shooter. You guys have to understand he's been shooting with a D500, but here's his, he's talking to Joe Mack and says the R7 body with 1-500 for tele and 24-105 for moderate work, 100 millimeter macro for my flower and bees work. So there you go. And we've said this, and everybody says, no, nobody's leaving Nikon. And again, I'm not going to say anything negative about anybody that would like to venture into another brand. That's just the price you pay when you're a smaller brand. And that seems to be where we're at now with Nikon, a smaller production capability. And that's just the way it goes. And
Testing.
yeah, there you go.
Does it sound normal?
Yep.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Well, it's not quite as rich as it usually is. It's got a little bit of, I can hear a little bit of room echo, but you're there. I mean, it's solid. It's clean.
Does it sound like
That's
high or
good, that's
low
good.
or normal?
A little bit high. It doesn't have that rich, warm tone that you usually have.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like a pitch. Pitch is high pitch, sort of. But it's okay. I mean, we can communicate. No problem.
Absolutely.
That should be fine now. Test 1, 2.
It's close, but it's just not the same as it typically is. But it's fine. Don't get me wrong, V. It's fine.
It's not normal, huh?
No, I hear some room echo in it.
As long
Never
as it
hear
doesn't
that.
break. I think it is better, but Chuck, talk a
Yeah.
bit. V.
Hold on.
Testing 1, 2.
There you go.
There
You're
you
back.
go. There you go. Yes.
Big
yes.
difference.
Yes. All right. Rock and roll. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing?
We're fine.
A lot of folks in chat. Everybody's doing well. But yeah, absolutely. And Daryl, you're absolutely right. Nikon has done a fantastic job, not from my viewpoint, but from theirs, I'm sure, at the NDAs and keeping everything very hush hush. So yeah. And Nikon Rumors is paying a price for that too, because I think a lot of his sources over there have been rolled up in the NDA thing now. So it makes it difficult for us because we depend on, I say we depend on people taking a chance on losing their job to keep us happy.
Chuck, can I compliment Vagan here on his Knocked 95 video series? I think they're
Would you please?
really,
Absolutely.
I love, well done, Vahagan, and I love how you did like 3-4 episodes so far, I believe. 3 or 4.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, 3. And
Yes,
fourth one's
very,
coming
very
up.
exactly.
Fourth one's
Yes.
fourth one's going to be a good one. That one's taking a little bit of time, but I still haven't shot all the content yet. So getting
I
that
see
down. But thanks
the
a lot, man.
images on Facebook too. Very, very nice. It's that
Thanks.
lens is one of a kind. It's very particular niche. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thanks,
piece
man.
of
I'm
design.
having fun. But yeah, I'm also on Instagram, guys. If you have Instagram, follow me on Instagram. Same name.
Yeah.
I love that type of review, by the way. And I know I've talked to you about it before, Vahagan, but I want to see a lens or camera in use not so much digging into the specs. I love that when I can just sit back and enjoy quality video or photos, and that is the review. And I harken back to Make Art Now, and in that I can't remember his name. He did a video review of a lens. What am I trying to say here? A cine lens. Well, not cine, but the Suray lens, and he made a story, a movie, a short out of his review, and I thought that captivated people and actually was better than just hearing tech talk and seeing brick walls and color charts and things like that. That is important for some people, don't get me wrong, but I prefer what you've been doing lately, V, with this. Give me a story behind it. And I absolutely loved the look into the bar downtown, and especially into the little secret place where all the stars went. And Miss Claire is back. Let me throw her back in here. Claire, how are you?
Hi, I'm really embarrassed about the mess behind me.
No,
That's
no,
okay.
your
okay.
audio is 100% better. It's fantastic. Yes.
That's good.
We love the realness. What's up, Claire?
So real. Hi, where are you? I can't see you.
I'm here, right here.
Yes.
Cool. Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I have RSI in this arm, so from editing, so I have to give it a rest for a few days. So I've disappeared from my channel a little bit.
Is that
Well, you gotta-
repetitive stress? What is
Yeah.
it? RSI?
This,
Okay.
yeah, from as you can see, I've been sleeping in my office, and just working hard on getting a video out a day, and it's taken its toll a little bit. So I'm just I noticed it that I couldn't do anything in the gym or when I went swimming, so I'm having a bit of a rest.
Good. That's good. We were complimenting Vahagan on his Knocked series of videos, and I don't know if you all saw Peter McKennan's Phase 1 video on like an $80,000 camera body, medium format, and how he shot these, macro photography. I think it's I highly recommend it too.
Oh wow, yeah.
I think that idea of the Knox Files came from Claire because she inspired me to make a series. She was doing the Z9 Diaries, and
Okay, yes.
that idea from her.
There you go.
But yeah, that was quite a surprise, Claire. Remember that surprise you had on us with the Z9? That was a great.
Oh
moment.
yeah. Oh, it's just gone absolutely crazy since then. I just don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know if you saw my last one, but
Crazy in what way?
Well, for example, I jumped in the car on Saturday to go to the London Fashion Week. It was like this kind of intuitive pull. I've got to go there, and I chucked my camera in the car, and I was driving to London. But I was sort of driving along, thinking, I don't belong in the audience, I had this ticket to be in the audience, and I was thinking, I don't want to be in the audience. I want to walk down the runway, I want to model. I want to do that. And I walked in and I introduced myself to some people, and then I ended up going into the room where all the models were getting changed, and I'd said, like, do you guys need any more models? And they said, go in the room at the end. And I went in there, and it was just full of models all getting ready. Some of them were naked. Some of them were having their makeup done. They sort of all turned and looked at me. And I said, I wondered if you needed any more models for the catwalk, And they looked at their list and they said, what's your name? And I said, Claire Middleton. They said, are you a new model? I said, yeah. They were like, get changed.
You weren't
It was
lying.
insane. It was insane.
Hey,
Honestly.
that man right there has my lens, man. Don't show it, man. You're gonna make me sad. Don't show it, please. Don't do it.
Mr.
Don't
D
do it.
Moots Photography has joined us. How you doing, David?
Good. There we go. Can you hear me all
Hi,
right?
David.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, yes.
Hi.
How you doing, Claire?
So
Nice
how-
to meet you.
Hi. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So did they
What's
pay
going
you
on,
for
Dave?
the modeling session,
Hey,
Claire?
Bobby.
No, I didn't get paid. I picked up my camera afterwards. It was just such an amazing experience. But I thought that I'd be able to follow another model, so I knew what to do, but it wasn't. I had the whole runway to myself.
Okay.
So I had to just kind of go with it. But I got some nice pictures after, and and some amazing contacts as well.
Claire, you on that motorcycle, man.
Yes.
That was a nice scene.
Oh,
You revving
yeah.
that thing? Vroom, vroom.
Yeah. I love the bike.
That was awesome. But yeah,
Your video made me cry. You're the one with all the music where you went to that gig.
oh yeah.
I literally just got so emotional watching that, because the music and the photography was stunning. Like the black and white shots you got, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that
And
was a
guess
great
what?
video.
Guess what? I have 2 portrait sessions scheduled for two of the lead singers at that gig.
Oh
Wow.
So
amazing.
one of them is the actual Steven Adler is the original drummer of Guns N' Roses. He has his own band
Yes.
now, and the lead singer is that singer that was singing "You Could Be Mine" in that clip. Ari, I'm gonna shoot him, and then also the Gwen Stefani cover band. I'm gonna shoot too.
She
so-
was good.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. I've been wondering something. Do you mind if I ask a question to I don't know how
Absolutely.
is it-
Go ahead.
Is there anywhere we can see your drumming online?
Yeah, I have clips. I will make a video.
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be amazing.
I haven't played because I'm not inspired. I haven't jammed in so long that I'm really rusty and the drums are put away, but I am gonna put them out. I'm gonna bust them out soon. So
Yeah, cool. And I see there's a load of guitars behind Andre.
oh, he's a bass
Wow.
player.
Oh wow.
Yes, yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
We practice once a week because that's a must. I can actually share a YouTube clip here, a recording we have. Can I do that, Chuck?
Sure, go ahead, Andre. I just don't want to steer too far away.
Okay.
There are a lot of comments over here, questions and things. But go ahead, Andre.
Hey, Vahagan, that lens is working beautifully.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
I told you, man. You just need to get the rust out. That's it.
Yeah, that's what it needed.
Congratulations,
Instead of sitting in a
man.
closet.
By the way, guys, he bought my 600 FL. So congratulations, Dave. You got a great lens.
I still haven't canceled the new one yet, though. I'm going to let it ride and see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to wait for this one.
No, not even interested.
I know I'm just, well, it's just a patent, but
Yeah.
still 1,000mm PF lens, man. You got
Now,
it.
the 600
Interesting.
PF, I'd be interested in.
No, I haven't seen Delta Empire.
So who asked, somebody asked earlier if the Z9, yeah, here you go. David Bransma asks while we're waiting, and would the current Z9 owners be ready to purchase a Z8 now if readily available in March or April? I can answer for me and say yes. I don't know about the other Z9 owners. I
It
had planned.
depends on what it has to offer. So can't really say right now.
Somebody asked earlier, I can't remember, you know who you are, if the Z8 turned out to be, all the specs that we wanted in it, but in a retro body, would I be interested? And I said, or I would say, I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to see it, but I don't know how you guys feel. I'm going to try to do this. You can pull up another window on your computer if you want, and then share screen to that window, or I can try to do it this way. Hang on a second. Let me see.
No worries,
so
Chuck.
many
I mean,
mus-
can post it later in the
there's-
comments or something.
there's so many musicians that are photographers. I could name a handful right now that are into music, like Andre and Claire, and there's Baron was in a band. There's Zach that was in a band. I mean, there's a lot. 6 String Brian, it's crazy.
Yeah, we've got
Mhm.
quite a few people. All right, here we go. Hang on a second. Let me share my screen, and we shall watch Mr. Andre beat the bass.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Before you do that, I'm going to have to say
Please.
goodbye, but I've saved the link, so I'm going to watch that later on.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. Thank you
Good
so
to
much.
have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry it was
Have a
brief.
good one, Claire. I just
Yeah, take
subscribed to
care.
your channel.
Oh, nice one. Thank you. See
Yeah.
you soon.
Close to 800, Claire. Good luck.
Claire,
Oh,
good luck.
yeah.
Good luck. Good work,
Thank
guys.
you.
Check out Claire's School of Photography on YouTube. She's doing great. You're rocking and rolling. I like it.
Thank
Yep,
you so much.
absolutely.
a
Everybody
lot.
check out Miss Claire on
Thank-
YouTube.
See you guys again soon. Thanks again.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Claire, thanks for
Bye.
dropping
Bye.
in.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, why? Hang on a second. I know why. We should go full.
Is that a Korg or OB8?
I think that's a Korg actually.
Nice.
Yes. We all have we all have full-time jobs. So the keyboard player is an air pilot, an airline pilot. The drummer actually is a full-time musician and a drumming teacher too. And the guitarist is an accountant. That's how it works in Malta. We don't do this as a full-time. But anyways, I mean, maybe if the others will give it a listen, it's all original music. Anyways, I don't want to take over, Chuck. It was just, because
No, that's okay.
people ask.
Nice.
I'll leave you guys running in the background. Beautiful ambience.
There you go.
But no, thank you for sharing it with us. I've been over and watched your videos that you have up, and I would invite everybody to go over and watch, especially if you're a jazz enthusiast.
Yes. So there's an 800 PF available. I saw something from you.
Yes,
Vahagen.
we know someone that has an 800 PF available. I think it's still available. If anybody would like it, I said this earlier, make sure you send me an email and I'll get you in touch with them real quick. I don't know if he actually picked it up. He had the opportunity to pick it up, and he would pass it on at his cost to anybody that wanted it. So I don't know if he's passed that opportunity up now or it's still available, or whether somebody else has already spoken for it. But again, send me an email or Vahagen, and we'll pass that on to the individual.
Shouldn't be hard to get rid of.
Yep, I agree.
But it's interesting, the psychology behind this, because obviously it would be someone who at one point said, yes, I really want this lens. And then I never personally experienced that myself, because usually it takes me forever to decide to get a lens. So once I order it, I know that I definitely want it. But yeah, I'm sure it could happen that, you buy an expensive lens and then you get second thoughts, maybe it's extra gear. It will sit there.
He's asking a list, whatever he paid.
Yeah, his cost,
$7K.
tax and everything. Here you go. Good to see you in here, Baron. Baron from Photography Discourse. Again, another channel you guys need to check out if you're Nikon centric, especially because Baron's a a full-time shooter, a working photographer, and he just released a video not long ago comparing several lenses for portraiture to include the 200 f2. So you may want to get over there and check out his channel. Z7 and Z8 are unrelated. I will agree with that 100%. You're absolutely right. It's a matter of which is which, though. That's the question. And you're welcome to join us, Baron, and speak your opinion. Is there anybody in the chat that would like to call in? Let me know, and I'll fire the phone up and post the number. And you guys are welcome to call in and be heard. But I'll continue to canvass the comments over here because there are a lot of comments going by. I appreciate that. And any questions you have, we'll do our best to answer them. And there's
Hey,
got to be
Dave.
somebody in here.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Dave, that TC, man, on that 600, it's like there's hardly any loss of quality, man. I think that's the best TCF mount ever made.
Oh yeah, it is by far. Yeah, no, I've shot it even on my 500 PF. It works great.
Yeah.
Is
the
it a 1.4, Dave? 1.4?
Yeah.
3.
1.4
TC3.
version 3. Yeah.
Best one ever, man.
Yeah. I mean, I already had one, but I bought Hagen's one he had too
Yeah.
to get a second one.
And I bought that from our buddy, what's his name, from Orange County. Chuck knows him.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Joe says people always wanted small mirrorless bodies and then put a big lens on it. Let's see. Which in balance term doesn't make a lot of sense. I think there are two different people that want the smaller bodies. I think those that are shooting big, long primes and things like that, I don't think they have an issue with a little bit larger body. But those that want to do street photography or those that just have entered a point in their life where they, can't carry around a heavy load anymore once. So I think that's just, the difference of who we're talking about here, Joe. And we got Mr. Barron from Photography Discourse in here now. Good to hear you, Barron.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
What's
Yes,
up,
sir.
brother?
How are you guys?
Hi.
Hi.
Good, how's it going?
I've been moving lately, so I'm sort of in the middle of a move, and that's why my camera's off because I actually don't have any light. Like I'm in like half darkness right now. Anyway,
It's okay.
I lost track of where. There we are. So if you guys don't mind that I don't have an image today, it's just because there wouldn't be much of an image.
How you been, bro?
Been all right, man. I'm just settling in Austin, and it's a great city. It's pretty awesome here. You guys are all welcome to come out and check it out sometime.
Nice.
So yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean. I'm not laughing at you. I had to throw this comment up there. Claire is a lot better looking than you guys.
Wait a second. That's hard to say because you can't tell what I look like.
Well, but their guess is pretty daggone good because
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll
let's
agree with
face
that.
it. Yeah,
Chuck, I think statistically she's the second female guest, no? After Diane, is she?
yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
Andre's becoming my stats man. You always have to have a stats man in your corner.
Although I must say, Andre looks like a movie star.
He does. He does. And he plays a guitar. He has that wonderful voice and that accent, man. He is a movie star.
That's embarrassing.
And Baron too, a little bit.
Did you ever get a chance to check out that music?
Which one?
I sent you over so my old band was called Manic Automatic, and it's on Spotify. It's from like 2008 or something.
Where'd you send it?
I think I just texted you. I don't know, but it's on Spotify. It's called Manic Automatic. I just thought you'd get a kick out of it. It's like kind of like your style of rock and roll, I think.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's just fun, But yeah, I thought you'd like it to check it out.
Yeah.
I think we lost Chuck. I wanted to. I wanted to make to clarify my comment though about the Z7 and Z8, because I think there's I'll wait for Chuck to come back because he's the one who talks about this a lot. So I feel like I'd be just repeating myself.
Hey, Joe Stroud asked me a question in the chat a while back. He said, "How was it shooting manual focus?" It was a challenge doing
bet.
band photography, but I think it's muscle memory. And the more you do it, the more you know people how far they're moving back or forward, and you kind of know where to adjust. And I also use the little box on the Z9 that helps me when that little box turns green. On the subject, you know that you're pretty much there. But
Yeah.
But you said the focus peaking, Vahagan, on
I turned it
yellow
off.
or something.
I
You
turn
turn
that
it
off.
off.
That gets in my way, man. I want to see the image.
Oh.
I want to see
Yeah.
the colors. I want to see the compositions. Just focus peaking is it's kind of annoying, man. So
Really? Wow.
you just don't see the image. Like I don't
Yeah.
see the colors. I don't see the people's
But-
faces as I want.
But it depends on the level, which set it, for example,
know.
white and low,
I know.
rather than the high. But yeah, fair enough. I mean, if it bugs you, it bugs you.
I don't know. For that night,
Hey,
did.
Yeah.
Vahagan, I want to say also, I know these guys already said it, but I also want to second or third or fourth or whatever it is, the opinion that those knocked files videos are awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I appreciate.
Yeah, that was cool.
Really good photography in there too. Like, I mean, I'm going to say that you deserve some of the credit. I know the lens is doing a lot of the hard lifting, but but no, honestly, it's really good, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Video 4 probably next week.
Hey, Chuck, is that the bag that Joe Mac's talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Because I answered him in the chat. I have no experience with that, but I'm glad you got it. Cool.
Yep. Something else to get rid of. Let me open it up real quick. Just if anybody else has any questions about it. The only thing, I bought it. I like it. It's very secure. It's a fantastic bag for a long lens and a camera body, as he said. But hang on a second.
I got Vahagan's think tank bag when I got his lens.
How's
Yeah.
that bag, man? You like it?
The bag's great. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't use them much. I mean, usually when that 600's mounted, it stays mounted. I don't take it off and on a lot.
Mm-hmm. I love the quality of certain Nikon bags, like the 200 Vahagan, which you have, the 200 f2. The bag which it comes in is really, solid, safe, and all.
Oh yeah. I think Barron's came with the same case or no?
Same.
Same case.
Probably the
200
200 I have.
Yeah.
I don't know. It has the case for the 200. I think it's the 200 case specific, isn't it? I don't remember.
It's a great bag, but if you're carrying it, you're only carrying the bag. I mean, it's a backpack. It's available. There's a little bit of room in it for other items, maybe a TC or something like that. Some cables or some small things that you may or may not need. But it would be great if that's all you're carrying, because you put this on your back and you're not going to be able to put a backpack on, obviously. It does have a tripod holder on the side. Obviously you would probably need that if you're carrying a 600 mil lens or something like that. But yeah, it's nice. It's very protective, but I don't know. I got it for my 400 2.8 with I was carrying the D5 on it, but I just found that it's great for traveling or whatever, to and from a location or something like that. Protects the lens and the camera real well. But again, I'm not going to go on a day hike with it because I couldn't carry anything else unless I'm carrying it in my hand. So that's my take on the rugged Alpine 600.
Cool.
Hey Barron,
Yeah.
did you move already? You're there?
Yeah, I'm in Austin.
So you're not in Cali no more.
No, but I'm coming back. I'll be back next week for an entire week, and then I'm coming back later in March. I'll be back in LA a lot, so we could still get together sometime.
Yeah, we should, bro. We should really do it. We always
Yeah.
say it, but we never do. At least I
Yeah.
never do. But
Well, you're a busy guy, man. I get it. So am I. But it's all right.
Baron, you were going to ask Chuck something on the Z7, Z8 before he left.
Oh yeah, but Chuck often has talked about the Z7 and the Z8, and there's a lot of confusion, I think, out there regarding those two possible cameras. And I think that's I think Chuck's confusion, or I shouldn't say confusion because I don't know. I can't say that you're wrong.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Go ahead.
Well, no, I don't mean it like that, Chuck. You know that.
I know, man. I know.
Yeah, like what I mean to say is that I think a lot of people have thought, well, what could the Z7 and what could the Z8 be? If they're going to be high megapixel, then why would you have both? Right? That's kind of like the standard course of thinking. And I think, and I have to admit, there's a lot to that thought. It's just that I think we have often gotten what's the word? We've overgiven credit. That's not the best way to say it, but we've overgiven credit to megapixels as a differentiator between cameras. And it's become a thing where like a camera is being differentiated in our minds largely based on megapixels. And I don't actually think that's a valid criteria. I mean, it's a valid criteria, but I don't think it's the valid criteria anymore. So
no, I think it's one of the things to consider.
Correct. But in the case of Z8 and Z7, my feeling, and again, like I don't have inside information. I am an NPS member, but that doesn't give me any insight into Nikon of any kind. So my guesses are no better or worse than anyone else's, except that not even except. I'm very involved with photography, and I've been shooting Nikon a long time. So to that extent, I have some credibility to what I think. I also have made I actually have to say I think I've been lucky, but a lot of my predictions in the last couple of years have come true almost spot on. So again, that's probably a track record of luck, and it probably is ready to run out any minute. So I don't necessarily think that means I'm right about what I'm about to say, but my feeling is that the Z8 is a professional UI camera, and that is the same as a Z9. Like the UI is the same as actually was on, if you recall, the D200, the D300, the D500. I mean, even these crop sensor cameras were pro UI cameras. They had the same professional interface. And what I mean by that is they don't have the mode dial. They have the mode button and the various buttons on the left side where the mode button is that can control various functions, and that with the turn of the subcommand dial. And they're built a little bit differently. They also have a different eyepiece, although that's mostly cosmetic. But they are built a little more robustly, and they have a different interface, literally a different interface. And it's an interface that I prefer. And I think many out there do prefer. So I think in the case of Z8, we're looking at a different body than the Z7 and the Z6. Whereas I think the Z7 and Z6 will remain the same style of body. I mean, they might update some buttons here and there, but I think it'll be roughly the same size, and hopefully it will be. I actually think that they should keep the same battery, at least the same form factor. I think they should keep, so the grip, like the what is it, the MB11, whatever that grip is, that's the grip that actually has functionality for shooting vertically. That should, in my view, that should still work on the Z6III and Z7III.
Yeah, I think Nikon learned its lesson on that, but go ahead.
Well, but more to the point, Chuck, because if you recall, Andre's holding it up. But if you recall, in the past, they would actually release different, like new bodies would come out, and there'd be a new grip, and you had to buy the new grip. Well, what Sony did is Sony made one grip that fits all of their cameras. But that's because Sony has all the exact same form factor pretty much, which I don't think Nikon should not do that. That would be a terrible mistake for Nikon. But within the line of Z6, Z5, Z7, all of those should remain the same body form factor, in my opinion, going forward. And keeping things like that grip that Andre was just showing us being compatible going forward is a good move, I think. I think I'd be very disappointed personally if I get a Z6III and I have to rebuy a grip. So like, I think that they should do that. Now, in my opinion, the Z8 does not fall under that category. The Z8 does not have obligation of any kind to remain true to the past. So I don't think the Z8 necessarily needs to have the same battery, although it could. And if it did, I wouldn't mind personally, because I have tons of those batteries. But if they did make a better battery that was a higher capacity, I would not be upset about that personally, because I understand that the Z8 is actually taking on a new line of camera. It's a new beginning of something different.
So let's just stop right there for a second and talk about that, since we're on the battery topic. One is, I don't think anybody wants to see a new battery model. However, it could be the case. Two, the EN-EL18 would be the only substitute that we're talking about here for the EN-EL15. And that's a huge size consideration. So the body would grow exponentially. And I don't think that unless you put a battery grip on it for an EN-18, you won't see that.
No, I likely
functionality. But I think I may disagree. I think if Nikon wants to, yes, there will be people that will be happy if the form factor stays the same on, say, the Z6 and the Z7 series, and they can use the old battery grip. But I think Nikon could produce a new battery grip as well, and that has all the functionality that you're talking about. And then that could be the standard from that point forward. And I mean, we're just talking about ideas here. So who knows what Nikon's going to do. But to say that, let me ask you this. If you want a new form factor on the Z8 body, i.e. as big as or close to or something very similar to the DSLR bodies, D850, D750, whatever, do you think that should be a portrait and landscape camera? Would that bigger be?
Well, so my feeling about the Z8 is that it would be akin to the Z9 without the grip. So if you just like remove the grip, if you were able to remove the grip of a Z9, then what's left is a Z8 in terms of and I'm not talking about necessarily about specs completely. I'm talking about holding the camera.
Okay.
Like the actual ergonomics, right? So I don't think that the Z8 is for specifically only portraiture or only landscape or only whatever.
No.
To me,
it isn't.
To me, the Z8 is a, and this is where I do liken it to a D850. It's for a professional use case, but of course, that said, the D850 was bought by pros and it was bought by amateurs worldwide. I mean, it doesn't mean it's only for pros. That's not what that means. Just it satisfies a professional use case for a wide range of photographic needs. So it's basically like the D850 was a camera that could shoot pretty much any genre of photography. Now, it wasn't necessarily the best at certain ones. For example, fast action. It was good at fast action, but it wasn't fantastic at it. And for those,
it wasn't. I owned it. Yes, I know. Go ahead.
Correct. And for those applications, for any professional use case, you would be using a D5 back in those days. So you wouldn't be using the D850.
But that's old. You're hearkening back to what's historic rather than what I think a lot of people want. But go on, continue, because I know there are a lot of people in this camp.
Correct. Well, so what I'm saying is I think a Z8 would be a camera that would be capable of shooting all genres of photography, including fast action. However, it would definitely be inferior to a Z9 in that respect, because I don't see it pushing the same amount of frame rate, for example.
Why? Because that's been done already with Canon, Sony, and everybody else. I don't think that's as big an issue as we, think it is. Well, I think that the throughput and everything else is there. The pipeline's there. And if they use the XP7 processor, that's there. So I don't see this big,
battery power. So if you recall on the D850, they had it used an EN-EL15 battery, but there was an optional grip that would take the EN-EL18.
So that's exactly what we're talking about here. I don't have any argument there at all. I think that yes, the battery grip would definitely be where you get the extra amperage in a battery, meaning the EL18. Yeah, I agree.
So it is possible, but I also think that we're talking about a higher megapixel camera. So I do think it will have limitations vis-a-vis the Z9 as far as frame rate. Now, will it be fast? Yes, it will be fast. Will it be as fast? That I don't think so.
So I think this is boiling down to an issue within the Nikon camp of portrait shooters and wildlife shooters arguing over who gets the bigger body.
But see, that's the thing. Like, what to me, you could shoot anything with a Z8.
You could shoot anything with a Z50. My point is, what does it cater to most, or is it an all-rounder? Yeah, there's a big argument over the megapixel thing, in the Nikon camp now. Everybody, and I'll tell you right now, I may tick a lot of people off. I think it's just bragging rights. Everybody wants bragging rights. We got an 80 megapixel camera. You only have a 61 megapixel camera. When in essence, yes, it makes a difference for some people, but not the majority having a higher megapixel camera. But go ahead.
I hear you, Chuck, and I think that you make another good point. I think that's a factual statement you made. I also think that we have some exceptional and new technology in the Z9. We have the HE star and the HE compression algorithms. So these are breakthrough algorithms that have created a much better file at a much smaller size. So what they didn't put in the Z9, to my surprise, and they have their reasons and they stated their reasons, but what they didn't put in was a small and a medium RAW file. So they said, well, we didn't do that because we want to shoot everything at 14 bit. It's nothing will be not 14 bit. It's all 14 bit. In the past, I think it went down to 12 bit or something. I'm not exactly sure why they can't. I'm not exactly sure why they can't make a medium and a raw and a small RAW file that's also 14-bit. That to me, it seems to me they could, but maybe there's a technological thing I'm not aware of. I don't know.
No, I'm following you. I'm following you.
Right. So to me, the Z8 would be wise if they put out like a 61 megapixel. I always thought it would be between 60 and 80 megapixels. All right. And so hold on.
Go ahead.
So let's say they put that out. Let's say let's just split the difference for fun. I don't think it's going to be 70. I actually don't think that's a figure it's going to be, but let's call it 70 just for this conversation.
Okay.
Okay. So so it comes out and it's a 70 megapixel camera, and that's at full RAW, right? That's shooting, the large RAW file. Right. But of course you have HE star and HE compression algorithm possibilities to drop that file size down. But then on top of that, I think they put out a medium RAW file, which is around 40 to 45 megapixels, or maybe 45. Yeah, 40. Call it 45. I'm just spitballing. And then they put out a small at about 24, 25 megapixels. And each of these can also use the HE star and HE algorithm compression. So now you have literally files from 8 megabytes up to approximately 150 megabytes. You choose. You can use anything in between. You got all kinds of them all in between there. So basically, anyone who wants to shoot in any way, shape, or form for any type of genre can use this camera with a perfect file size, with a perfect use case. And so that is an all-around professional camera. It is not just for portraiture. Now, portrait photographers will likely use the medium or large RAW file. Whereas event photographers will likely use the small RAW file, and landscape photographers will most definitely use the large one.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Can I interject here?
Well, 1 second, Andre, but I just want to throw this in because for sake of this discussion and argument, which is good, it's discourse. I love that title you have there, Baron. Where does that leave the Z7? Because you've captured everything that everybody wants in one body.
Can I tell you? Can I answer that question specifically?
Please.
So this is my feeling. Again, my feeling. My feeling is this is where the Z7 is. Number one, the Z7 is a good $1,000+ less than the Z8. It's number one. So first
Yeah.
of all, you have a huge community of people that don't need a Z8. Why would they put the money out? Buy a lens, for God's sake. So if I'm a landscape photographer, and that's what I do, and I'm a passionate landscape photographer, I want to go hiking, I want to go to remote locations and shoot landscape photography, then I want a lightweight kit as much as possible. I don't want a Z8. I don't need a Z8. I don't need any of the functionality of a Z8 besides the high megapixels. That's it. So why do I?
Well, let me ask you this question. Then why would that have to fall on the Z8? Why couldn't that be the Z? You're explaining exactly what I think the Z7 will be.
Because
you're not interested in anything but the higher megapixel, especially when it comes to RAW.
But because there are professional shooters that would in that space that would prefer a Z8. I'm talking about a hobbyist.
Why?
Because it's got a much more robust build, and
I disagree with that 100%. I don't think that it's any more robust than what the Z7 is. I think Nikon's done a real good job on that. But go ahead.
I agree, Nikon's done a good job, but I can tell you that the Z7 pales in comparison to a Z9 in robustness.
Yes.
I'll tell you right now.
Of course it does, because the Z9 is a completely different form factor.
Right.
So I will give you this. If, in fact, the Z8 is in a larger form factor, basically just gut a D850 and put in all the new technology. I mean, do you agree with that or disagree? I mean, that's what you're asking for.
Hold on. So it's not just a D850, because as we all know, and I know you know this for sure, Chuck, the D850's video was not very good. Now, the video was fine, the files, but the autofocus was terrible. And we all know that
I'm saying get rid of everything inside the body. Use the same magnesium frame and put in all the internals that you're talking about. Form factor. No. I mean, like I said, I think it's just it's slightly bigger. If you were to cut the Z9, if you cut the extension off the Z9, you would be left with a body that's a little bit more robust than a Z7 and a Z6. When you say robust, well, let's clarify. Let's clarify robust. Is it the form factor, the feel, or is it the weatherproofing and other?
I think it's the form factor for sure. I think the grip is going to be a little more significant, a little longer. So it's like, for example, on a Z7, my pinky hangs off the bottom. That's not acceptable in a pro UI camera, in my opinion. So now what I personally do is I have an aftermarket piece that's not even made by Nikon that screws onto the bottom of my Z6IIs, and it gives me that functionality. So I can fake it, but I shouldn't be faking anything. If it's a pro camera for my pro needs, I need it to be what it is. And I'm speaking the generic eye, eye, right? The professional generic eye.
And hey, Baron, I don't want to argue this, and I'm not. But I don't want to be seen as arguing about it, because we don't know what we're going to actually see. And there's nothing that we're saying here that's going to influence Nikon, because that camera, whatever it is built right now. It's done.
Right.
It's now more what we would hope to see. I want everybody to understand that.
Chuck, I'd like to say, though, like you commented before, you said, well, you're just looking at the past. But based on what you just said, that camera is already designed, because it has been designed from the past. So the fact is, it's been in process for a long time. So the likelihood of it likening to the past is more probable than what you're saying, in my opinion. It's my opinion. Okay.
Yeah, and I respect that, and I respect that, and it's going to be fun to see what it is, and I'm not going to complain either way. But I'm just, I've made my points on what I think it's going to be or should be. That doesn't mean it will be, but I appreciate that you bring all this up. This is good conversation.
Thank you, Chuck. But I would say, like, with reference to the Z7, I do think there's there's probably a lot of guys out there, probably a lot of guys who watch this channel that are landscape guys. I'm guessing. Like, I think I remember when I was living in the Bay Area 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a Nikon group that would meet once a month, or actually it was once a week, I think.
I know the story.
Yeah, out of this photography studio, store called the Looking Glass up in Berkeley, California. It's a great store, by the way. Anyway. Yeah. And it was old. A lot of the Nikon folks were were older folks, in general. Like, I would say there wasn't a lot of really young people there. There was mostly middle-aged and older. And the lion's share of those folks, I have to say, were landscape photographers.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like they loved. I mean, we would show photos. You know, we would share our photos sometimes, and 80% of them are landscape shots, and good landscapes. Guys would go like traveling, and they'd go to Yosemite, and they'd go to Zion, and they'd go to all these places, and they would shoot, and they'd bring their photos back. And anyway, I'm saying those folks don't like. To me, if you can save $1,000+ and get the camera that works for your specific genre that you only shoot, and that's basically all you do, then that's a smart move, and you're going to do that. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't. Like, that's a huge savings. I mean, Nikon put the Z9 at $1,000 below the A1 for a reason.
Yep.
Okay, $1,000 rings a bell to people, especially in these times. Inflation is bad. I just read an article about Walmart talking about how they're freaked out about the economy because people aren't buying stuff. So the fact is, like, spending matters, and $1,000+ off is going to make a huge difference. I guarantee you. There's a huge, let me just say the last thing.
Of course it will.
I guarantee you, there's a huge segment of Nikon prosumer clients that would like a Z8. Like, if they could just have it, they would take it, but actually will buy a Z7 instead, a Z7 III instead, because it will be $1,000 to $1,200 cheaper, and it will serve their function perfectly. So that's where I'm at with that line. So if you look at the pricing, we have room. Right now, you have the Z5 at like the 1,300 level, 1,400 level, whatever it is. You have the Z6, which is going to go away at like a 1,600 or 1,700 level. You have a Z7 II at the 2,000 level. I think a Z6III will end up being about $2,250. I think they're going to undercut the 25 mark. I think that's what
that may be. You're right. It could be, because Nikon has been very aggressive on pricing so far on bodies.
And I think the Z7 III will likewise only be like $500 more than the Z6 III. I think it's going to be like $2,800, which makes it super compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
hey, can Andre go ahead, and then can I jump in after Andre?
Let me just finish the pricing.
Hang on, Baron. I love everything you're saying, man. This is a great conversation, but let's pick it apart. If you throw too much at us, we can't go back and discuss where you were.
I'm sorry.
No. Don't be sorry. It's a good discussion, but hang on for Go ahead, Andre. I'm going to the bathroom, folks. I'll be right back.
Okay. Baron, I agree with you as a starting point that the Z9 will remain a flagship. Okay, so a flagship has to be a flagship. So what are we talking about here? Battery size, the buffer size, it's very important. So you can have a high-performing Z8, but with not as good of a buffer in terms of size. But I agree with you that, for example, the shift from the D750 to the D850, we looked, rightly so, as you mentioned, at a wider grip. You had better features like the optical viewfinder. You had an upgraded viewfinder, which is what you would find in the D5 or the D6. You had the icons which light up, similar again to the D5 or something which you didn't have in the D750. So yes, I agree that it will be an in-between, and that, for example, just the last point, in Malta there's a very good pro photographer, landscape photographer, who organizes trips to Iceland and whatnot. He affords a Z9, but he went for a Z7 too, because that's what he needs, basically. So I agree with you. I mean, I'm sure he spent his money in the 1424 2.8, better allocation of funds, especially in this current market environment. That's right. I'll pass on to Vahagan now.
Well, first of all, Jay Kimmer, I gotta check that out. Sammy's in Los Angeles with an empty Nikon table. I haven't been there in a long time, but the one on Fairfax, right? I think that Baron has a point with the Z8 being around, well, what he said, but I think that the Z6, if the Z6III is $2,250, and what did you say, Baron? The Z7III is going to be?
Yeah, I think the Z6III is like 22 to 23, and I think the Z7III is like between 28 and 3,000. Although I think they'd be wise to go a little below 3,000. Just
Well,
a little.
how many megapixels is the Z7III?
See, that's the thing. Like it may end up being still 45 megapixels. Like I don't
Okay.
know that it has to go up or not. Like that's
I don't think the Z8 is going to have a stack sensor.
I don't either.
There's going to be some differences in the Z9 and the Z8, obviously, because first of all, the housing is totally different. The body is different. When you're talking about video, the video capabilities, which no one talks about, is totally different. What's a Z8 going to look like when it comes to video?
So I think what the Z8 looks like for video is it looks really good, but it will not be Z9 and I don't think it'll be Z9 for a very good reason. So in the Z9, they have a heat sink built into the extended grip. It's a massive heat sink. That's why it can go for over 2 hours at 8K 60.
Oh yeah, dude. And I
There's
put that
no
to
way.
the test the other day.
Right, and there's no way the Z8 can do that. I don't think, unless there's some new technology that they've come up with, some like new voodoo technology. So
I recorded an hour and a half of 4K 120 10-bit, like without stopping the other day.
Right.
And it was great, man. Hour and a half.
Well, I think the Z8 will do largely what the Z9 does as for video, but for less time. I don't think it will have the extended time periods, and maybe they drop off some of the highest of high end. Now, for example, I'm not a massive video guy, so I'm sort of speaking out of turn, but I have to say, like, I think 8K 60 things like that are above the use case of at least 90 to 95% of users across the board.
Oh
Not
yeah,
just,
I agree.
and I'm not even talking about amateur. I'm talking about even pro users. Like most pros do not use 8K video at a wedding. That's for damn sure. And they're not going to.
No.
Yeah,
they don't even use 4K. It's 1080.
Right. So what I'm saying is I don't think the Z8 needs to have the 8K abilities of the Z9. But if it does, it will be extremely limited with respect to the Z9 because it just doesn't have the heat dissipation capacity. Physically, that's a physics factor.
Yeah.
So but I do think it will be very competent as a video camera. I do think it will have 10-bit for all the codecs that it does use, and I do think it will have all the 4K options, and I think they'll be full frame and stuff like that. So it'll be good. It'll be very, very good, but it won't be Z9, and that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, it can't. It won't be. It's physically not possible. And also the cost. I mean, they're not going to put no stack sensor in there.
Well, hang on a second. I got to ask you, Vahagan, why isn't it possible?
Well, number one, the price, right? What cameras have stack sensors right now? The R3, right?
The A1.
The A1, the Z9. What other cameras?
This goes hand in hand with the comments about it being a competitor, and even Nikon rumors saying it's going to be a competitor to the A7 R5 and the A7. I'm sorry, and in the Canon camp, the R5. I don't think so. I think it's going to exceed them. And why do I think that? Because Nikon won't be producing another body anytime soon, and they're gonna jump ahead. That doesn't mean the R5 won't leapfrog it, or Sony won't leapfrog it, but it's not a competitor to them.
Well, I 100% agree with you, Chuck. I actually 100% agree with what Chuck just said. I would just say it a little differently because just because it might be a better camera doesn't mean it's not a competitor. I mean, I think we're just semantically talking past each other. But honestly, like, I totally agree with you. I think the Z8 comes out and it wows all of us, just like the Z9 did. I think it will be best in class, but I think it has to be for the exact reason Chuck just said, which is they're not going to put out they're not going to put out Z8 Mark II in 2 years. It's going to be 3 years at least. So it's got to be really above. It's got to be the point where for the first year to year and a half, it's the best camera. And then for the second year and a half, it's still competent.
Yes.
Right. And then there's a new one.
Yes, and again, and we'd all be lying to ourselves if we think that Canon and Sony won't respond in a way, and they will. Absolutely, they will. And
There
I'm
is a-
glad to see that.
There is a stack sensor APS-C camera out there, which is the Fuji, right? The Fuji has one, right, Baron?
I honestly, I'm not sure. I think they do, but I couldn't say for sure.
The XH2, I think, has the stack. That's an APS-C camera.
I think you're right. I think it is stacked. Is that the 40 megapixel one, the new one?
I
Or
think
is that
so.
the light?
Where's Michael McDermott? He's a Fuji guy, right there. He is. But
Well, you know, if it's gonna if the Z8's gonna compete with the R5, you know, the R5 came out in 2020, and it's still a formidable camera. That's a great
Yes.
camera.
Yes.
So
It is.
it's gonna have to.
I don't think. I think the Z8 will clearly surpass the R5, and I think the other thing is it has to surpass the R5 too. Like the real question to me is when is the R5 II coming out?
Exactly.
Okay, let me add here. Let me add here real quick, and I'm going to back out of the way. Andre's got to go, so everybody
have to make
give him a round of applause.
Take care.
Appreciate you being in here, Andre. Love you being in here, and you need to continue to join, brother.
Can I just ask Andre a quick question?
Thank
so
you.
Andre, you're in Malta. Is that what you said?
Correct. Malta, Europe, in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. So Malta it's south of Sicily and north of Libya. So we're exactly in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. It's a very tiny. It's a challenge to find it on the map.
Isn't that where the Maltese Falcon is from?
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. But, hey, Andre, it's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure. I really appreciated your comments.
Same here.
Yeah, Andre.
Take care, guys. Take care, and David and Chuck, of course. I want to buy one of your shirts, Chuck. Okay, then.
All right, soon enough. Soon enough.
Andre, keep rock and rolling over there with the bass.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Hey, so I got a list here of stock sensors. Fuji X-H2S, OM system OM1, Nikon Z9 R3, A1, A92, and A9 are the cameras with stack sensors.
Are any of those APS-C?
Yeah, the Fuji.
The Fuji is.
The OM system is a Micro Four Thirds.
I would say quit looking at what everybody else has. Nikon's marching to the beat of their own drum, and I think that I would not. I surely wouldn't sit back and say Nikon will not produce a stack sensor in any of these cameras that we're talking about. I think we may be surprised. And again, I think that they have to. So, but that's my thoughts. The other thing is that when I say it will surpass the R5 or the A7 R5, this isn't about bragging. This is about good corporate foresight. They have to. They have to surpass those two bodies, just as Canon and Sony have to surpass whatever the Z8, Z7III, Z6III are. Okay, this isn't about bragging. This is just about good corporate thought process. Go ahead.
That is another possible differentiator between Z7 III and Z8, because if Z8 were to come out as a stack sensor, first of all, if it is a stack sensor, I think it still may well have a mechanical shutter as well, just like all of those other stack sensor cameras except for Z9, because every single one of those that was listed also has a mechanical shutter except for Z9. But I can tell you the Z7 III will not have a stack sensor. That's 100% certain to me, because that camera being largely used for a landscape and for high megapixel usage like that, you lose dynamic range. There's some level of dynamic range loss. It's very small, but there's some level of it with the stack sensor, and there's no sense when you don't need a fast camera anyway, there'd be no sense in putting that in there. So again, that can keep the cost of the Z7 III down.
Possibility, yes.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So one thing Andre said while you were gone, Chuck, what I just want to repeat because I wanted you to have the benefit of hearing it. He was talking about, I guess, a fairly famous landscape photographer in Malta who also takes trips and like leads, you know, photographic journeys to Iceland and various places. And
Right.
he had the money to buy a Z9. Of course, it's his living. He could buy whatever he wants. And he opted to buy a Z7 II instead because he just didn't need a Z9.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
So that's why, again, I think Z7 III has a very strong place at a lower price point for a huge audience that would say, you know, that Z8 is awesome and I sure love it. But honestly, that Z7 III would just crush it for me. And I can save $1,200 and buy this awesome lens with it. So.
No, that's a very valid point. Yeah. Hey, let me add one more thing into the equation real quick, and then I'm going to sit back and let you guys continue on. I love this discussion, and I'm going to continue to just monitor the chat because I know there are a lot of comments out there, but there's been chat about APS-C, and I want to go on record right now as saying Nikon is I don't see them building an APS-C pro body right now. I could be absolutely wrong, but Nikon has too many has too many places to fill before they get to that. I'm not saying that APS-C pro body doesn't deserve any discussion or anything like that, but I think that in my thoughts, and I may change this as soon as we find out what's being announced. Filling out 2 of the full frame slots is more important right now than an APS-C body because Nikon knows where the money is and where they need to be. Not that the APS-C pro body won't sell. Of course it will, but I think it's a smaller segment. I'm not saying tiny. I'm saying a smaller segment of the population within the brand right now. Okay. I do believe that maybe we see 2 cameras this year. I don't see Nikon producing 3 or 4 cameras. I could be wrong, but I do see the APS-C as being a priority for the next go around. Give us 2 bodies this year or 3 and make it an APS-C as the third, or next year seeing that APS-C pro body come out. Remember, there was a long time gap between the APS-C pro bodies in Nikon's history. I'm not saying they should repeat history, but I think they know where their lens and camera sales are. And so anyway, I just want to make sure everybody knows I am not opposed to an APS-C pro body at all. I just don't think that Nikon's going to do that right at the moment. Could be wrong, and we may find out soon. All right.
Do we know? I mean, how's the Canon R7 sales been? Does anybody know? On Canon's APS-C.
D-moves,
the only way that you can do that is compare it to the full frame body sales because it sold well doesn't mean it was a major placeholder in their sales. But go ahead.
Okay, well, do we know, and this is a question because I've always been under the impression, and I could be wrong, I never actually officially looked into this, I'll admit that because now that I'm thinking about it, but do we know if the D500 was a great seller or just a good seller?
I believe it was a great seller. I mean, I don't know if I could back that up with anything, but
right, and that's where I'm at, David. So the question,
it sure seemed to me like it sold a lot of bodies.
Because what Nikon has is the actual numbers, right? Yeah. And what they have to look at. So if this is my feeling about it, let's just take scenarios here. If it's the case that it was a great seller, like off the charts, then there's no question they're going to make a replacement in the system. And it's probably coming soon. And it may come this year because the reason a major camera didn't come last year was because of supply shortages. So I think they're just late. I don't think it's because they planned it this way. I think they're late. And I think that means the other ones still may have been developing, which means more stuff might come out. It was just backlogged. Yeah. So there is a chance there'll be 2 full frames and the APS-C this year. However, that said, if it turns out that the D500 was only a good seller, but not fantastic, then they might have put it on the back burner a little farther out.
Sure.
And I just don't know the answer because I honestly don't know the sales numbers.
I don't either. I'm just kind of thinking back to when it came out and the hype and the way they were touting it with the 200 to 500 as a great combo, which it was. It was a great combo. It just really seemed to me like the D500 was a hot seller. It was priced right. It was really really good price camera for what it was.
And David, if it comes out, I believe if it does come out this year, it's going to drop on the same day that the 200 to 600 drops.
I agree. I would agree with that.
I think that would be a smart move. I agree with that 100%. I just don't know that Nikon's production capability is up to too many bodies, and they're going to have to prioritize. And I think that the supply shortage was used as an excuse, but it's really production capability for Nikon.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
And
So
I think that it sounds like they're ramping that up with that new factory they're building, which is good.
Well, that's
be a
glass.
That could be a lot.
That's
true, but
I think there is a market. I think there is a market for that Z500, but not now. I think first we need to fill in those full frame gaps. Eventually,
I'll buy if it's a 36 megapixel. Sorry, Vahagen. If it's a 36 megapixel D500 replacement, I'll buy one in a heartbeat.
No, I know, but I mean, you see, you're a bird photographer, right?
Yeah, I know.
Who's shooting the D500 right now?
Wildlife photographers.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
No, I shouldn't say that's it. Of course, there will be other people shooting it as well, but
predominantly.
The question is, what segment of Nikon's market is the birding crowd? And when I say the birding crowd, I mean that's what they mainly and almost exclusively do.
Look at the lenses they came out with first. All big glass. That tells you a lot. Sports and wildlife.
Correct, but that tells me, like, respectfully, David, that tells me it's more for sports. By the way, all of it's useful for wildlife just as well. So it's killing two birds with one stone. Sorry for the pun, but But I think that they designed those things for Z9 and for the professional media. That like literally and if you notice, we've seen more Nikons on the sidelines. We saw them at the World Cup. We see it's starting to happen, and those lenses are a big part of the reason. So because the reality is the bigger money is in that kind of shooting than it is in bird shooting. For sure, yeah, right.
Well, portrait wedding and event photographers, they don't. I've never seen them using a D500. Now with the 85-1.2 that's coming out, we're gonna sell so many. Nikon's gonna sell so many units of that lens that they would really need a new body too.
We always get wrapped around the axle about wildlife and sports shooters, and granted, that is a huge part of the community, no doubt about it. But the least vocal are those that are portrait shooters, wedding shooters, and at least they don't frequent the channel here. And I'd love to get even more. Other than we've got Mr. V up there, Mr. Wedding Photographer Extraordinaire.
Baron's also a shooter. Baron also
true enough. Yeah, I know Baron, you shoot events and portraits and things like that. And I'd like to see more voices in our chat and in our stream, and I don't know how to do that. But I'm not trying to take away from the discussion here about the APS-C Pro body.
But maybe are they just content with what they have? I mean, it's doing the job for them, and maybe that's why it's not as vocal.
I think we just don't have time to argue, man. We got to go make money, right, Baron?
Well,
exactly. Can I just say to Jeff and Leslie, wildlife and nature photography, I don't mean to, he was a little offended by my comment about saying bird shooters. Nothing I say was meant to be disparaging. First of all, I have a high respect for wildlife photography because it's not easy to do wildlife photography well. I understand that. I know, and also I'm quite sure that if I went out there and shot wildlife photography against any of you guys right now, you guys would smoke me. There's no doubt about it, because I don't have it's a skill set, and it's not just having a great camera. And that's also true in portraits, by the way, and it's also true in wedding, and it's also true in every genre.
Oh yeah,
right,
dude.
So there was no disrespect meant. I just meant that Nikon, being a for-profit company, they think in terms of where they think their bread and butter is coming from. Now, the argument I think that Jeff and Leslie are making is that there's a lot more money in that market than I am giving credit to. And that may well be true. And if that's true, Nikon certainly knows it. And if that is the case, I suspect they will put that camera out this year. That is my point. It's not that I'm saying it won't or it's not important.
So I got a question for Jeff and Leslie to counter that. Jeff and Leslie, are most wildlife and bird photographers, and we have one really good one here in the panel. Are most wildlife and bird photographers doing this for a hobby, or are they making money off it?
Majority are prosumer hobbyists. For sure. It's tough to make money in wildlife photography.
Because I have to
So-
give you guys credit, man. You guys get up in the morning, like early dawn, and you guys, suit up, hike, this and that.
Deer
And-
hunters sitting in the stand before daylight, freezing. Yes.
And sometimes you guys go out and you don't get a shot and come back
Yep.
home with empty-handed, right?
Yeah, that's true. It does happen.
So Jeff and Leslie just said, I would offer that there are a whole lot more folks out chasing wildlife with a 600 f4 than there are standing on the sidelines of sporting events. And I would say to that, and this is all the gut feeling, I don't have numbers. I think he's probably right about that. And this is where Nikon either knows something we don't know, or they're just operating in the old way they've always operated, because they do have trouble. They're not a nimble company when it comes to changing mindset. That's for sure.
Well, your sports.
Sorry, Dave, one second. The old idea was that when you had the guys on the sidelines shooting your gear, that was somehow marketing for the rest of the world, because they would see these photographers out there with Nikon and they would buy Nikon. I actually don't think that's very true in today's world. I don't think it really does make much of a difference, but I'm not sure if Nikon would have acknowledged that at this point, because they are slow to adapt when it comes to things like that. So I don't really know, but I do think they put out the Z9 body knowing that camera was not for the hobbyist. It was mostly for the pro. And the reason is most hobbyists won't spend $5,500 on a camera. The fact
But
that
they did in this case. That was what was so awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fact that a lot of you guys did, I think, was an amazing testament to Nikon taking a chance.
But again, there's more money available on the amateur side than there is, or hobbyist amateur. And there's a good article over on AP Studios group on Facebook, by the way, somebody submitted, and it's great to go read, hobbyist, amateur, and whatever. But anyway, I think there's more money, more liquid cash on the amateur side than there is on the pro side. I think pros have to buy what they need specifically and not go overboard. And that doesn't exist in the amateur hobbyist side. That's why there are more sales to amateur and hobbyists, I believe, than there are to any pros. And when we say pros, I'm talking working professionals that make a living at photography, not somebody that thinks his photos are so great that he's a professional. Okay, let's distinguish what I'm talking about. And let me answer this real quick. There's a comment. Could it be Nikon is announcing a new body that could potentially add up to the lawsuit from Red? No, not at all. Nikon can do that at a later point. That's not an issue. They can not include it in the new body and later do a firmware update to include it. So
let's also address the lawsuit with Red is, first of all, only in the United States. It only has jurisdiction, so it doesn't affect the world. Now remember, Nikon is an international company. They sell to every continent, I think. So this is not like although the US is a large market, US by itself is is definitely a minority figure of their market, number one. So they don't even care about Red when it comes to most of the world. When it comes to the US, I think they have a huge chance of losing that lawsuit.
I agree. I think this is much about nothing, actually. But
I think Red loses the lawsuit. I think if it's true what Nikon said, that Red was out demonstrating this technology before they filed for the patent, if that's the case, it's probably going to be chucked anyway. Like it's probably a false patent, which, I mean, I'm surprised the Sony lawyers didn't figure that out, but we'll see. But even if Red does win, let's say they win, all that will happen is Nikon will pay some kind of a licensing fee for America, just for the American market. That's what will happen. Because otherwise, if they don't, then people will just get gray cameras off the gray market, and you'll just get a camera from a different market, and you won't buy an American Nikon anymore. And they know.
Can I comment on the topic we were just talking about before?
By all means, Vaughan. I didn't mean to cut anybody off. Go ahead.
I just want to say that not only did I go out and shoot with the Nock on that show, which I learned a lot with that lens and camera, I talked to a few established concert photographers that do this for a living. One of them being Jack Liu, which is the original Guns N' Roses photographer. I talked to him. I talked to Don Atkins. He's he works with Nikki Six a lot, and he's good friends with him. And we're just talking, and I was just like, asking him questions, and I'm specifically talking about event, concert, like show photographers, not weddings. And he's telling me, you know what? There's no money in it. There really isn't no money. A lot of these bands are they don't have money. They're not gonna pay you. You're gonna have to go out there and love what you do. So when you guys were talking about birding and wildlife, where there's no money in it, but you love what you do, it reminded me of that conversation of going to shows, dealing with all the BS, people at the door,
Yeah.
you have a big camera, you can't get in, this and that. Got to deal with a lot of that. Well, who are you shooting for? And then people, just a lot of politics involved in this genre that is just crazy. It's discouraging. But again, the best thing to do is when you're out there shooting bands, to kind of like show them, be prepared to do a lot of free work for these people in hopes of, okay, you standing out and then them calling you back and saying, hey, come on the road with us, or that's when things really get better for you.
So
But it's
let's
going
talk
to take a
about
lot of time.
let's talk about where the money in photography really is, because there's only the highest earning photographers are the big corporate campaigns, right? If you shoot a Nike campaign, they're going to pay you like $100,000, like just for the gig, right? And by the way, getting that gig is virtually impossible, and there's probably like 3 or 4 photographers in the world who get those gigs. Okay.
Yep.
The next one is basically corporate headshots. If you can do corporate headshots, you'll make, you can make like 5, 6, like maybe 10, 15,000 a gig, and you'll shoot a few of them a year. And even those guys, there's probably like a few, maybe 100 of those guys total. And then after that, it's weddings. And there's a lot of wedding photographers, but wedding is the third category, but it's somewhat lower than the second in terms of total earnings. And after that, it falls off steeply. Like there really isn't money in photography beyond that. So
I think we spend more money on gear than we make.
Right.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So that's what I'm saying. So so it seems like talking about where the money in photography, but I don't think, but there's still a pride issue for Nikon. I do think this is still relevant. Nikon was if you go back to basically like the mid 80s and backwards, Nikon was the premier brand. And I'm not talking about Leica, like compared to Leica. Leica was always a premier brand, like from the beginning. But I'm talking about if you look at like the consumer level cameras that actual normal people could possibly ever afford, Nikon was the premier camera. And that was true from like the 1959 release of the F mount, of the Nikon F, with the introduction of the F mount, until 1987 when Canon made the EOS system. Right? So that entire period of time, 1959 to 1987, it was Nikon's world, because Nikon made the best cameras and they certainly made the best lenses. That was like not disputed. Then Canon, they innovated, and Nikon sat on their heels a little bit, and Canon's innovation paid off. And the reason why Canon is the #1 selling brand today is because in 1987, they switched to the EOS mount, which put the autofocus engine into the lens, and all of the sports photographers switched, all of them. And they made their lenses white so that you could tell it was a Canon lens on TV, from far away. And all you saw on the sidelines of all those games through the late 80s, the 90s, and beyond was white lenses on Canons.
And the diameter of the mount, the EF mount.
No, this is the EOS Canon. Right. And they put those white lenses on. And then what did they do? They did something really smart on top of that. Once everyone was shooting, all these pros were shooting Canon, they put out the Rebel. Yeah. And they had Andre Agassi on the ad for the Rebel saying, image is everything. Right. And the Rebel became a massive success. And the legacy of the Rebel is all of the Canon shooters today. So that's what happened. And so Nikon, like they have never really internalized the fact that they lost that war.
Hey guys, I don't want to break this conversation up, but we're running out of time, and I also want to address the Z6III. We have beat the Z8, Z7 to death, but and all good points, and now we wait to see. But there is the off chance that the camera we see next could be the Z6III rather than a Z8. I don't think it's likely, and some think that we could see both. That's a possibility. But I want to go concentrate on the Z6III for just a minute. Let's give it some love because it is a big camera in the lineup for a whole lot of people, more so than I think the Z8 or the Z7 III. So what are you expecting with a Z6 III?
No, it's video. Video comes to mind. I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
so Vahagan,
video
that's a
comes to mind.
great. That's a
But,
great.
but wait. I just want to go back to just one more thing I want to add about what we were talking about, and then I'll
Okay.
talk about this. You should see some of this gear that these people use. These pros that are really like 24/7 making money at band photography and official photographers for these big acts. You should see some of the gear they have. Older cameras, Sigma lenses. It's like, and they're looking at my Noct, and is that a $8,000 lens? Like they were like shocked.
Yeah.
It's
Those
like,
guys
That kind of
those guys
proves
don't-
my point. I think the people that are making the money doing that stuff and you don't hear from is because they're content with what they got. It's making money for them.
David, they're not
And-
content with what they got. They can't afford it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Those
they're
guys
just
can't
making,
afford it. They're shooting old Sigma lenses because they can't afford to upgrade. That's the reason. Just to be
but
clear.
yet when you look at their portfolio on Instagram, they're amazing work, man.
Yes.
Take
They
a look at Jack Lou's portfolio, man. The guy rocks. His work is out there. Sorry,
yeah,
Chuck. All right,
they don't need more expensive lenses.
Hagen, don't we? I think we all agree that it's mostly the photographer, right? Like we
yeah,
all
yeah,
know-
yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think we just talk about too much. Like gear is good to talk about, but I think at the end of the day, you got to go out and create.
Yeah,
That's right.
I would agree with that, and I catch a lot of ire for talking about gear, but without gear, you don't go out and photograph. So, and considering where we're at right now in Nikon's moment in history, I think it's definitely a conversation to have because Nikon has to step up the game, and I think they are. But anyway,
Z6III then. So I think the way to answer that question is to answer what are the deficiencies of the Z6 II. So the deficiencies of the Z6 II as I see them, and again, this is definitely through the color, like the lens of my eyes from what I do. But I think that it stands to be better in low light in terms of autofocus. Like it's better than it was, and it's getting good, and I can get my shots, and I do, but could it be better? In my opinion, the answer is yes. And then I would say, as Vahagan said, it needs to be a better video camera. It's got to at least have 10-bit internal and 4K full frame, because those are the kind of things people might use that are going to use this camera for like wedding photographers, things like that. Like you need to have, like, those are the places it falls down right now for events. It falls down in low light autofocus, and it falls down in video capability. Its image quality is exceptional. It doesn't even need and honestly, it'll probably be people are talking about how it's going to be 33 megapixels. It probably will be, but I think that's a marketing decision more than anything. It's just because if they don't, they'll get criticized. But honestly, it's fine at 24 megapixels. I think if it goes to 33, that's fine too. I'm happy either way, but because the image quality right now is exceptional. But honestly, that's the main things. It needs to have that Speed 7. It needs to have the improved autofocus, and it needs the video to be brought to the modern times. If it does all that, and then the screen on the back is probably going to be, I'm thinking it's a vari-angle screen, and not because I think that Z8 will not be vari-angle. I think Z8 will be like the Z9 screen, similar to. But I do think the Z6III and Z7 III should have the full front-facing screens now. Maybe not Z7. I'm not sure. Z6 III should, though.
Okay, so let me address one thing. It's not all about just the wedding community, wedding photographers, and everything else. And I can see where you guys go, why you guys go down this road, because this is what you know, this is what you see, this is what you live with. But there's a whole segment which is, I believe, larger than just the professional community. I go back to that. I mean, even the comment by Jeff and Leslie here, he was just talking about, I'll throw it back up. The only reason I want to change gear is I've been getting more into video, which everybody, so many people will disregard or throw, they don't care, they don't whatever. And that seems to be, it's not just a Nikon thing, but Nikon is full of stodgy old stills photographers that want nothing but that. And they feel like, why should I pay for video if I'm not going to use it? However, there's so many more people out there now doing video. And I go back to look at all the videos that you see on YouTube. Do I need a Z9 to put a video on YouTube? No. But one of the draws of the Z9 is just out of reach for so many people that are beginning videographers and so on and so forth, content creators, is the cost and maybe even the size. But that's why I say let's switch gears and talk about the Z6III, because I agree with Vahagen. It can't be a video only camera. Nikon needs to look at that down the road or even sooner, maybe. I don't know. But the Z6III checks the blocks for so many people, those that want all those video features that they're waiting for in a Nikon body outside the cost prohibitive Z9 and possibly even cost prohibitive Z8, the mythical Z8. And I think this is a camera that sells extremely well if it checks those blocks.
Right,
and
so
there's
based on what I said, Chuck, what
Yeah.
would you? I mean, I think I agree. I think if you notice,
Well,
I said the two things I said. One of the two was the video needs to be better.
Of
So I
course.
agree with you.
Of course, though, yeah, but video better. I mean, the video people are very specific. It's not just video better. They want, 4K 120 at a minimum.
Yeah,
And
I think
everybody
we should do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it can be capable of 8K. Even 6K would be a step up for some of the people that are actually using the cameras. But here, we can't rely on just what is going on out there now in the video community. Nikon needs to look ahead like everybody else and make sure that they're catering to those folks that are looking for these hybrid cameras. And there are a lot of people that are looking for it. Somebody brought up shooting high school football or baseball or high school sports, and all the people in the stands, we think that we're the only ones that have Z6s and Z8s and Z9s and whatever. But there are people, again, this is that part that nobody seems to recognize. A lot of people have bought interchangeable lens cameras, and we can argue all day, well, they don't want a bigger body. They don't want, well, they're using those. So again,
I don't think the Z6III is a bad choice if you're shooting sports from the stands. That's a bad choice.
Well, it may be, but again, they're not listening to us when we start talking about this. We're talking in a photography community. These are just people that are purchasing based on what they think they need or can get away with or use or whatever. And I don't know that I would go as far as saying the Z6 series, especially the Z6III, would not be a good choice. I don't know why it wouldn't be a decent choice for that segment of shooters, because again, we're going back to, we're not going to dumb down cameras. I don't think you're going to see Nikon dumbing cameras down to protect any other camera.
I said that because it's low megapixel. So either you have very, very expensive lenses. Hold on. So if you're sitting in the stands, if you're far, far away, you either have very long lenses that are very expensive, in which case you could afford any camera. So why would you buy that one? Because you could afford anything at that point. Or you're shooting, you're going to crop in significantly. And if you're going to do that, it's a bad choice, because you'll end up having very few megapixels on target, which means it degrades your image.
We're talking about mom and pop here. We're not talking about anybody pro. We're not talking about pixel peepers. And we have a different.
Why don't they use a Z50? That would be a better choice for that.
Well, I don't know. I can't answer that. But if they're buying the others, then what's the problem? You think Nikon cares if you buy a Z6 over a Z50? No, they don't care.
Of course, they prefer it. They prefer it. I think you're right.
The Sony A7S was a great hit for videographers. That camera, A7S2, A7S3. I think the Z6 should be the ultimate hybrid, affordable prosumer option that does really good video. Lumix has that new full frame, right? The Panasonic that came out for $2,000. I think they should follow that camera's footsteps, and they'll be all right. With the Z mount lenses, boom, it's a hit.
I don't even know if it's follow their footsteps. I think it's the natural progression from the Z6 II. Like if you think
Yeah.
about it, like the Z6 II was a really good video camera for its time. Like it was pretty good. They added in that 4K 60 and it was cropped, but everybody was cropped in 2020 at that point. So you know, it was pretty good. And I think if they can they'll come out with like whatever state of the art today. I don't mean state of the art in the sense of cutting edge. I mean, like, what's the state that you'd like? What are the required functions of the camera that without that you would not be bringing out a modern camera?
Well, the Lumix records the whole sensor, right?
Well, for 4K, I think, yeah.
It
right?
records the whole sensor without any cropping or anything like
And I
that.
think they should do that with 4K in the Z6III as well. I agree. But I don't know that the Z6III will be 8K. I don't know if it'll even have the megapixels for that, but it could be 6K oversampled.
Yes.
Which is probably good enough. Again, the truth is,
no, it is. But
no one uses 8K is such a crazy thing that
no, it is to you. It is to you, but it's not to video creators. And
Really?
a lot of people overlook the fact of cropping in video.
I agree, but I don't think there's still that. I've talked to a lot of video creators. I don't know very many. Well, I mean, even YouTubers, like some YouTubers shoot in 8K just because they can, but I can tell you they're like, this is in 8K, and they're like talking head, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can't even tell that it's better than 1080p over YouTube. It's not even like, it doesn't even matter. Like, so
what really doesn't matter is what we think. It's what they want.
And that's fine. And I think that they'll get what they want. I mean, obviously Nikon's going to put in as much as they can. Whether they'll get 8K could be a function of the sensor. Because right now at 24 megapixels, they can't do 8K. We know that.
Right.
So, right. So basically, if they put in a 33 megapixel sensor, that may be the minimum required for 8K, but I'm not sure. I've heard conflicting comments on that.
No, I don't know whether it will be or not. I'm just saying, you know, but here's a thought. If it is capable of 8K, even if it's just 30 frames per second, that's going to be huge for a lot of people, for marketing and everything else. But for those content creators that want that, because they are doing a lot of there's so much video out there that nobody takes a notice of.
What if they can do 8K, but it's like 8K 30? It's at some kind of a crappy, like it's line skipping, some crappy codec, and it's only for like 10 minutes. Like, is that really any good? To me, that's not good. Like,
but I think that's taking the devil's advocate approach of trying to push down the fact that people do want 8K. You know, I'm not saying that they would say, well, I'm not going to get it because it's not 8K. But the minute somebody else puts it out, that's where they're going to head.
I mean, maybe you're right. But
I talk to a lot of videographers on the job, and they say that they care about the colors, they care about low light, they care about lenses, and a good, image stabilization, IBIS, and a good small balanced camera for their gimbal.
Right, and that's the thing. Once you make it small, it's hard to do the 8K stuff because the heat becomes more and more of a factor. The smaller the form factor. And then Michael McDermott here is saying that he thinks it's a 40 megapixel camera that's required for 8K. If that's true, then the Z6III will not be an 8K camera, definitively.
Okay, and that's fine. I bring it up because, the Z6III is going to be something that, or it should be something that the hybrid shooter is happy to actually purchase.
Right. Oh, I agree. And I think at 2250, if you had a 33 megapixel, fairly fast sensor. I'm not saying stacked, but maybe, who knows? But let's just say it's fast, right? And it's the same quality. The IQ is the typical Nikon, incredible IQ, the best raw files, all of that. And now you have the Xpeed 7, the great autofocus, much better low light performance, and you have all the video features that anybody would want unless they're shooting a major motion picture. Then yeah, you got a winner, especially with the Z glass, like Vahagen said. Like 2250 is like, that's why I think they undercut everybody else. R5 II will come out at 2500. We know that. And I think it should be a better camera than R5 II. The only question is who's going to release first and who's got the jump on the other.
Yeah.
You also have to have a really good mic amp, the mic input. Preamp.
Yeah.
And something that really just fits a gimbal and it's comfortable. The lenses don't get in the way of the mount. It's balanced right. The articulating screen is important. The quality of the screen is important because most of these guys are shooting with the screen on, and they got to be able to see what they're doing. But the colors, most important thing is colors, and I think the 10-bit is important because it gives you more
Oh, yeah.
flexibility editing.
Absolutely, it's huge, and anybody that doesn't shoot video doesn't really realize that, or even some that shoot video don't realize that either. The color gamut in 10-bit is huge.
Well, 10-bit's
And-
required. 10-bit is required, Chuck.
Yeah.
I totally agree. If they don't have 10-bit internal, then they're sunk. But guess what? They're going to have it. I guarantee it. I
agree with you. I'm not saying that Nikon isn't even considering it. I'm sure they are, because they know what and I'm going to use this term, content creators out there are asking for. I use that term because David Brandsma just asked, define content creator versus photographer. Really, a photographer is a content creator too, David. I'll grant you that. But this term has been hung on those that are creating video content as content creator. It doesn't mean it's right, but that's just a normal a word to use when you're talking about those that are actually creating video content. Go ahead.
I would surmise that the bulk of all video content creation is still done in 1080p, and that 4K is a close second, and catching up and overpassing and will overpass.
I don't know why you would say that it's done. You would think that all content is being created in 1080p. I know what Vaughan said, and that's for videos that they're doing for weddings and things like that. But even my stepson, who will be here again in the next couple of days to create more content for his channels, and it will be done in 4K, even though it's uploaded in 1080p.
Fair enough. I think 4K is definitely widely used now. I do think it's widely used. But keeping in mind that, like, even now, most people still, the majority of the country by far still doesn't even have a 4K monitor or a 4K TV.
It doesn't matter. 2 years ago, we were saying 4K didn't matter. And look where we're at. It's the norm.
But the guys I know in the market are using the 4K as a package upgrade. You want 4K? Oh, yeah, 4K. All right.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
I do think 4K is important. I think 8K is definitely like highly overkill for just about everybody
at the moment. That could change overnight.
Right. Well, I don't know about overnight. I don't think in the next 3 years it'll be. Let's put it this way: if we were talking on February 22nd, 2026, I don't think we'd be saying, "Wow, turned out 8K is all that anyone ever uses anymore." Those other things are not even used.
No, I don't think so either. But we said the same thing about 4K just 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago.
So my guess is they have a 3-year window. If they make the Z6III a highly competent video camera, shoots 10-bit internal, shoots 6K oversampled, and all the 4Ks at full width, my guess is that carries for 3 years.
Yeah, I would agree. With that.
So I think we're okay, because then the Z6IV will come out, and guess what? It'll have 8K.
I'm not discussing arguing that the Z6III needs to have 8K, although I think it would be a nice little marketing piece. And I know that there are some that would use it, because when we get into heat dissipation and everything else, yes, there is an issue with a smaller body, less heat sink and everything else. But the thing about it is nobody's shooting 8K main. It's typically they're doing it in B-roll, obviously because of the cropping capability and everything else. So let's get away from everybody's wants 8K to produce an 8K. Not the case. Not the case at all.
Well, I hardly shoot an 8K. It's just a pain in the butt to process. But there's a guy, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this channel, AVP, not AP, AVP Studios. His name is Bob. He's out in the UK. He reviews cameras and lenses. You guys heard of it in the chat?
I don't know.
Well, anyway,
what did he say?
Well, he made his recent video about Mac Studio or Mac processors, whatever. Mm-hmm. He's using a 4-camera talking head setup in that video. He's using a Z30. He's using a Sony. What's that model number? The RX10 or whatever it is. RX10, and the Canon R7, and he's also using a Canon R50, something like that. 4 camera setup. To be honest with you, that Z30 out of the box impressed me the most. Out of the video, take a look at that video and you'll see. I even commented it on his video. I'm like, hey, is it just me or does the Z30 look the best?
Can
He
you
goes,
put the
funny you should say that. It does look the best out of the box. So
put the link in the chat, Logan, if you can.
all
That'd be
hold
cool.
on. Dude,
I'd
the
love to.
guy is an older man, but he's so energetic, man.
I mean, the thing is, Nikon just makes really great like cameras, and they have great images and imagery. You know, like I think it's great. Like I'm not surprised to hear that. Really,
You know what's funny is to watch the comments when we get on this topic of video, because again, you know, I understand the majority of my audience doesn't care about video, and you know, I bring it up because I do care about video, and I care about Nikon, and I think that, you know, that's one of the things that Nikon has to do, and they are doing, is looking at video capabilities within the cameras today. Because again, whether you like it or not, guys, stills aren't the only game in town anymore.
well, Chuck, you know, Nikon, and I know you know this, but Nikon specifically said that they had their strategy going forward, and one of the 2 or 3
Almost
top
a year ago.
headliners was video. So
Yep.
we know their video is on their mind, and I guarantee you the next generation of cameras that come out this year, whether it's 2 or 3 bodies, are all going to
Yep.
be very competent video cameras. Guaranteed.
Hey, did you guys get the link? Is it
Where-
showing up there?
Nope.
Just go AVP Studios. You'll find them. Bob.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, there's 2 types. Like there's the videographers that shoot weddings, and the clients really don't get in the way as far as the gear they use. But there's also the videographers and filmmakers that have clients that really care about their gear. I just sold a Aperture 300D Mark II Lite, and I had that thing and I'd never used it. So I sold it to a guy that does commercials and has clients like that. And he tells me that he gets paid more money if he shows up with these Aperture lights versus these Godox and all these other brands. So I'm just wondering if it's the same thing with cameras. Do they look at like, okay, you're using a red? Oh, what's that? A Nikon? Nikon's really not known for video. So I thought that was an interesting little, point that he was making there.
What
Yeah.
he's saying, that the gear that you show up with is how they judge you.
No, it's like he could charge more money using Aperture lighting versus if he was using, because I guess the clients really, they look at what you use, like the corporate commercial video clients.
Yep.
So
Oh, the corporate guys. Yeah, I'm sure that's probably true.
so
It's another reason why it's another reason why Z8 has to be a big camera, Chuck.
Yep. It's impressive. Yep.
The little cameras don't let me tell you, did you I don't know if you saw my last video where I'm shooting with Amber on the street. Did you see that one, Chuck?
Yes. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate you saying that. But my point was going to be, I was shooting with, I was using a Z6II, but I had the grip on it, so it looked big.
Yeah.
But I also had that 200 millimeter honking lens on there.
Yep.
And that's when someone stopped and asked me what I do and if I could shoot them. Like, so there is something to having big gear when it comes to the mind of someone who's not a photographer.
Which is a great point you bring up. Are you going to argue with that person and say, well, it doesn't matter what I'm shooting with?
No, of course not.
No, of course not. Of course not. But we have a
Mike,
lot of people that will argue and say, I don't need it. I could take this with a wet plate and make you look glamorous.
I should have been like, listen, lady, I could take this with a pinhole camera.
Exactly.
hey, Mike, the XH1, I had trouble with video. It haunt too much, autofocus, and I wasn't shooting video with it at all. But yeah, man, this Z6III, looking forward to what's coming up. It's gonna be good. Hey, Jeff and Leslie says the reason why he shoots wildlife is because he care about what the gear, and also you don't have to worry about portraits, models. You can go out and shoot anytime you want.
Yep.
The birds are ready.
That's true.
Yeah.
But-
So if we have offended anybody, whether you're a wildlife shooter, bird shooter, sports shooter, portrait shooter, wedding shooter, or whatever, please don't take this conversation that way, because this is really about what Nikon is about to do and what we would like to see. You know, not excluding anybody. Oh, and by the way, APS-C shooters, of course, D500, I should say. APS-C could be anything, but D500 shooters don't take it the wrong way. I mean, you know, this is a discussion, and by no means think that if I'm up here saying that, not saying these things, that Nikon is taking copious notes and they're going to change all their retooling to do what I hope they do. That's not the case at all. So, you know, guys, this is just a conversation about where we're at in the Nikon camp. And again, I'm sorry, gear is a part of photography. You can't get around it unless you take a sketch pad to the woods with you.
Yeah, and I also want to say that, like, if I said anything, I have a high respect for all forms of photography, irrespective of what they are. I mean, especially things I don't shoot, because those are things I know less about, and that intrigues me on some level. So I didn't mean to, like, I'm certainly not disparaging wildlife photography at all. As I said before, I believe that to be a very difficult and skilled practice that requires time and effort. And I know that I'd like to think I could go out there and get a decent shot, but I'm quite sure that there's plenty of your audience, Chuck, that would get much better shots than I would be able to get. So that's not even a thing. I'm not even trying to judge any of that.
And you know what? That isn't even part of the discussion, because everybody can go out and get a decent shot no matter what they're shooting. We get that. So it all boils down to what makes it easier and what do you just want.
And also
none of us need anything.
And also, I have the most respect for product photographers
Mhm.
that take these pictures. Like, I just saw a Peter McKinnon video with the phase 1, 150 megapixel camera, and he had this guy come in and they were taking pictures of Rolex, and the amount of editing that this guy is doing on this watch picture is like hours and hours just to take some scratch out or just to have this image perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is next level stuff.
And the
Yes.
lighting of product photography.
Lighting is huge, and all the nuances to lighting that you don't know starting out. And this is where Roy comes into play. I wish Roy were in here to talk about it, because he can talk about product photography all day long.
Lighting, the reflections, like all
Yep.
this stuff, like the hour, the way the hand is on the second.
Yep.
Just watch that video. I have a newly appreciation for product
Yep.
photographers.
Oh yeah.
And I just wish they would have followed it up with, okay, here's an $80,000 camera, right? Top of the line phase 1. Okay, we're gonna bring in an R5 now. I wish they would have done the same test with a more common camera and side by side. I would have loved to see that.
Yeah.
I would be
Absolutely.
interesting as well. That would be
Yep.
very interesting. But
But
I
you
want
know
to say
what?
also, I want to say one thing that sort of goes along with what you said, Chuck, about, like, when you started the little talk about not offending anyone. I
Mhm.
think everybody that's here, I mean, maybe not everybody, but like the large majority of this audience, I imagine, are either Nikon people or very friendly towards Nikon. And the thing about it is, like, we all love this brand and we love shooting with this brand, and we've gotten great results with this brand. And so, like, it's funny, like, that's why I just want to make clear, like, I know Chuck knows this, but to the audience, like, I know Chuck and I sometimes get a little bit heated in our exchanges, but from my perspective, and I'm pretty sure from Chuck's, it's not personal and it's not anger.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah. Like, it's not. We both love Nikon and we both want Nikon to win, because not because well, in my case, I actually have stock in Nikon, but by the way, a very, very, very small amount. I just bought a few shares just because I thought it'd be fun, because I'm like, well, I'm such an avid user, I'm put my money where my mouth is. You know what I mean? But, like, honestly, like, I own very few shares. It's just a fun position. Like, so I guess I could say I am a stakeholder, but it's not because I'm a stakeholder, because that amount of money is actually irrelevant. It's very small. So really, my love for Nikon is for using the gear and
Mhm.
and getting good results with the gear, and wanting to ever more get better and better results.
Yeah,
Right?
Is that-
or
is
make,
that-
it, make it easier and easier, if nothing more. Yeah, go
Well,
ahead,
easier, and
Vaughan.
easier and easier to be myself as a photographer. Because
Yes.
I don't think that like the gear will ever make like at least I hope not. I mean, maybe AI will just replace all of us because who knows what will happen there. But like I like to think that like no matter how good the camera gets, if you stick it in like the hands of someone who never shoots photography and you stick it in my hands, I'd like to think that I'm going to do better
Yeah.
than that person, no matter how good the camera is, no matter how
Right.
easy it is, right?
No, you're right.
But if that camera can make it easier for me to do what I do, like with a flow, with an easy flow of just getting out the shots that I'm getting because of my eye and my composition and all that, that's what we want, all of us. So, and we all love Nikon and we all want Nikon to do that as best as they can. And I do think that they are doing that very, very well. I do agree that it's been taking some time and they probably have lost some customers as a result, but I don't think it's entirely their fault. I do think that they may have had some problems that were beyond their capacity, but nevertheless, irrespective of that, I think this year we're going to see some really, really big things. And I think a lot of different camps are going to be happy very soon.
Well, that's a good segue into Frames TM. Frames TM in the chat, folks. Everybody say hi. Frames, you had an invitation. I'm not sending you invitations anymore. But anyway, he says, well, the most amazing stuff for me himself from Nikon will come in April, May. It's not a Z8 or not an 8. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Hey,
Yeah.
Z Wade is in the house too. What's up, Z? What's up with that Gene Simmons bit? That was good, man. Creative.
Yeah, I like
Hey,
this.
let me
Gotta
pause
get
for a
you back.
second because we only have about 30 minutes or less. 67 people viewing, and I appreciate that. You can't imagine how good that makes me feel that so many people want to listen to the dialogue that goes on here. And by the way, that's what we do here. We're not here. We teach, I think, sometimes just more in the chat with all the experienced photographers that we have over there. But anyway, it's all about this, just talking about whatever in photography related to photography. If you like it, please drop a like. I really appreciate it. And I hate to be one of those people that begs, but then again, let me show you my shirt. This says it all. My beautiful bride bought this for me for Christmas, so I wouldn't forget you guys or forget to tell you. But yes, absolutely. If you like what you see and you enjoy it and you'd like to come back, you don't have to subscribe. But of course, that would make me happy. I'd appreciate it. So I wanted to say that. And if you've never been here before, check out the channel. We do this twice a week, 12 noon on Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern time here in the U.S., and 9 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday night. And you're welcome to join us in either or both. And I hope you'll consider become part of the community in the subscription. All right. That said,
what's up, Frames? How you doing, man? Long time no talk to you.
Hank
sent
Donardo
Frames
says I'm
a,
late.
Frames, did you see that video I sent you about that guy pushing shopping carts? Funny guy, man.
Looking over here, quite a few people.
Hey, so I caught a few I caught some of that live stream you guys had Saturday, and I was listening to you guys talk about how the 85-1.2 is not as sharp, wide open as the 1.8. That's okay, because when you open that thing up to 1.8, that thing just smokes the 85-1.8. So I mean, and it has better bokeh at 1.8. I don't think it's necessarily meant to have 1.2. I initially don't think that the 1.2 should be sharper at 1.2. It's got this look, this dreamy kind of look that we want. We don't want it to be pin sharp at 1.2. I don't know. Do you agree with me, guys?
I do agree with you. I think that it's as a portrait lens, which is when you're shooting at 1.2. I mean, that's such a razor. So first of all, like I don't like when I say portrait, I don't imagine really using that 1.2 for like headshots or something like that, because you're gonna have like the cheek out of focus. You know, like I don't. It's not. It's kind of too shallow. Where that thing shines is when you stand back farther for like and like even outdoor photography, where you can get the whole body in the shot and still separate it massively from the background. Like that's a really cool look that you can get with a lens like that the 200 f2 does, for example, and the 105 1.4 does very well. So the same thing with the 85. And I do agree with you, Vahagan, like you don't need it to be pin sharp at 1.2, because honestly, like in most portraiture, you're trying to like soften the features, not sharpen them.
And also when you do open it up to 1.8, it blows the 1.8 away, and it should. I mean,
Well,
it's a 3 to 4 times,
yeah,
lens.
at the contrast, and also at f2, they said the ideal bokeh balls in the background is at f2.
Yeah.
So it's a
And the
stop.
contrast.
Yeah, the
the
micro
contrast?
contrast was higher than on the 1.8, according to that video that we saw. Was that whose video was that? Who did that video? Was that Matt Irwin?
Jared Pullen.
Oh, Jared. That's right. Jared did it. It was a good video actually, because it actually taught us something.
Yeah.
So it was good. And yeah, he saw like on his shot that the micro contrast was better at 1.8 on the 85 1.2 than the 85 1.8. It did surprise me because the 85 1.8 is actually an exceptionally good lens. It's very, very good. And I would not get rid of it personally because of the size and weight comparison. There are many use cases I can think of where I probably would go to the 85 1.8 first. But there's also use cases where I will definitely use the 1.2 85. So I'm definitely getting it.
But my question is, if you buy the 1.2, will you still own the 1.8 in your bag? Oh,
Yes,
you will.
Yes, I'm not going to get rid of any of the 1.8 line. I think they're all fantastic, and they all serve a purpose for me that the other ones don't.
So you will reach for that even if you have the 1.2 in your bag?
Not for portrait session, but for events, there are many cases where I might, or travel, especially if I have to go to an event that's somewhere out of town.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just take a 24-70 if it's like a
I don't like 2.8.
No?
I got to tell you, like I've tried to use 2.8 lenses at events, and I just find it jacks my ISO up too much, and I lose some of my ability to autofocus, which that may be rectified with the Expeed 7 PS. That would be a nice thing. And I do think that the 24-70 f2.8 lens, the S-line lens, is a phenomenal lens. But I just don't love 2.8. So maybe going back to Chuck's comment about Z6III, if Z6III is able with the Expeed 7 and the enhanced low light autofocus that it might come with that, if that can help with my 2.8 darkness scenarios, then I might be able to use more of these 2.8s.
I think that's exactly what we expect with this, technology out of the Z9, not just out of the Z9, but even what's been developed since the Z9 went into production. I think that's what we're expecting, Baron, is to see an improvement in low light autofocus and things like that. So let's hope.
Right. And I welcome that. And it might be, Vahagan, that because of those improvements, I might feel better about using the 2.8s in those environments and maybe start gravitating there. But like I feel like there's a little better look when I shoot with the 85 1.8 for like first dance, things like that. From a distance, I can get a nice separation, and it's really a nice look that clients really appreciate. And I don't feel it's quite as good with the 2.8 24-70. I just don't think it's quite there. It doesn't have as much of a unique look.
Well, I'm looking forward to that 85 1.2. I've held out this long, didn't buy the 85 1.8 because there was the hint, at least even back when the 1.8 came out, that there would be, I think even back then it was a hint towards a 1.4. Either way, that's fine, 1.2. And I'm buying it for the creative aspect of the lens. In the studio, the majority of the time, it'll be stopped down to probably f5, 6 at least.
Yep.
But outside for outdoor portraits, man, I can see all kinds of, creative possibilities with that lens. So
hey,
yeah,
can we run a vote real quick on your chat?
Yeah.
Everybody in the chat, if you guys think we're getting a Z8 first, hit 1. If you think we're getting a Z6III first, hit 2.
That's a
Everybody
good one.
in the chat.
While they're doing that, I want to ask Chuck. So Chuck, you just said you held out for the 1.2 because you have creative use cases, right?
Yes.
Isn't that your word? Something like that? And
yes.
I think that's a beautiful statement, because that's exactly my point about the cameras too. It's not just about what they all do, it's the use case. So for me, when Vahagan says, are you going to keep that 1.8 when you get the 1.2? My answer is yes, because of use case. It's not because of the quality of the lens versus the quality of the lens. It's because of other factors that are
Yeah.
unrelated to IQ. So you see what I'm saying? So there's so much to go when you compare things, and that goes with bodies. And that's where I think the Z7III and the Z8 are very different. It's in the use case. It's not so much in the specs necessarily. It's the use case.
No, it is. And, you know, look, there's no way we can take our personal wants out of any of these discussions. I won't deny that. A lot of it is what I want. I try to justify it sometimes by looking at what's going on in the market and everything else. But the bottom line, we all have own opinions of what we want or whatever, or even what we need for some. And you can't, it's hard to eliminate that from these conversations. I think that's one of the most difficult parts of having a conversation like this. And like you said, you know, I hold you, there's nothing personal. I take nothing personal about what you say whether you agree or disagree with me or whatever. And I think, you know, you feel the same way as you stated earlier, but we're always looking at it from our own wants. And, I don't think we can be completely impartial, but you know, the bottom line is it's just a discussion. We're not determining what Nikon or Canon or Sony's going to do. We're just having a discussion here. And again, some people get worried though, that they think that again, Nikon's listening and they're going to go change everything based on what we're saying. Not the case, folks. Not the case.
Clearly not. By the way, so in the votes, it looks like the votes are mostly for the Z8, but with the Z6 close behind, and a couple that think it'll be both at the same time. And then a couple that think it'll be the Z5 too, just to throw a wrench in.
Yeah.
Well, I did this to get something out of Frames because he seems like he knows something. And
Frames said the Z8.
I know.
Yep. Frames is, you know, he knows a lot of stuff, so it's you got to take him seriously. It's hard to know.
I've got to go back to Frames. Nikon India spilled the beans a day early for us on the Z9. So I'm hoping that you found that individual that did that and you're getting some information from them.
Well, he says from his knowledge, there's no Z6 or Z7 in the first half of the year, calendar year.
Hey, Chuck, you can't do live polling on this?
Yeah, I don't think I can do it yet, believe it or not.
But interesting, if Frames is right, I mean, that means it, like he said, in the first half of the calendar year, that means starting in July onwards, it may come out. So
yeah. I think we'll all be happy, you know, this year, but we need something up front, obviously, to, you know, signal that Nikon is alive. I say that not just in jest, but a lot of people are waiting for Nikon to show some signs of life. And then this year, maybe another camera body. I'd love to see all four. When I say four, I mean the Z500, if you will, the Z6 and the Z7 and the Z8. I'd love to see all of them this year. I just don't know if Nikon's production capability can do that. So we'll have to wait and see.
Hey, Jet Photo. No, dude, Frames got some pull, man. Whoever lends a guy borrow a Noct for a day from Nikon is got some pull over there.
Yeah,
so.
And he just said that there'll be two bodies in the first-ish half of the year. First-ish. So and he doesn't think it's and he doesn't think it's Z6. So that would indicate something like Z8 and Z90 or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
And I do think the 135 1.8 will come out this year, and I'm hoping the 35 1.2 will come out this year.
You know, I hope it does too, but I'm dreading the 138 coming out because I got a feeling it's going to be the lens I got to have and won't shoot very much.
Yeah, but hey, that fits into you got to have it.
I know. Got to have it sometimes doesn't make it when wallet ain't got it.
Nah, man, I want a 200 f 1.8Z.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
But I don't know. It might be pretty big, Vahagan. I don't know.
No, man. I think it's going to be half the weight.
Half the weight?
Yeah, of the current model.
What do you think it's going to cost?
Oh, 5,000, 6,000.
At least. I don't think it'll be less than the other. The other was 5,600 when it came out.
No, it's gonna be it's gonna be 6,000. If they do this, that thing's gonna be like a special edition type deal.
So you're gonna find me a deal on one, right? Like you did on the first one.
Gotta wait 10, 15 years.
Oh, damn it.
Hey guys, I want to bring somebody up here real quick. Ray Powell. Ray's always in here. Ray is one of those individuals that just doesn't have the finances to buy everything that comes out and everything else. And he's often asked about Nikon producing a lower tier, capable camera, but not so cost prohibitive. And I'm with you, Ray. I'm with you, buddy. It wouldn't surprise me to see this may be a surprise this year. And I hope so. So as I say this, I see Frames has already dropped this comment. No news of APS-C, sadly. But is there the possibility of a Z5II this year or a Z50, update?
Who was the gentleman who you were talking about who has a low budget? You were just talking about
Ray Powell.
Ray Powell. Does Ray have a Nikon right now?
I can't remember what you're shooting, Ray, but you can drop it in the chat. But I know this conversation has gone on a few times when we were talking about entry level, budget friendly models. And, sad to say early on, I think my answer was, I think Nikon is moving away from that. They talked about upper tier bodies, high-end bodies and things like that, and the elimination of the 24 megapixel sensor. I think they meant just in full frame. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was full frame. But also I would say that the Z50 is still a great camera. If you're really on a budget, you could buy a used one for probably like $500 or $600. And that camera, and by the way, there's only two deficiencies in that camera, two major ones. One is it doesn't have IBIS, but that's just true of all APS-C right now. And the other one is that you can't stream and have it plugged in. But there's an aftermarket part that makes it so you can do that, which I have. So you can actually get around that limitation. So honestly, the only limitation is IBIS, which isn't that big of a deal if you just, depending on what you do.
I think he was talking about, something, this will be his next camera may be his forever camera or whatever. And he wanted something up to date and whatever. And he's not asking for miracles or anything like that, but that might be a consideration too. Once the Z6III or Z7III come out, if they come out, but once they come out, I think that, Ray, I think, considering you're shooting with your DSLRs now, I think that you could get into a Z6 body very cheap once the newer model comes out. And I got to tell you, I think for what you're doing, you'd be extremely happy with that.
Actually,
I really do.
Also, the other thing Chucky could do, possibly even now, is buy a used Z5. Because with an FTZ adapter, he could use all his lenses, I'm sure, because he says he has a lot of DSLRs, so he must have a lot of lenses. And I can tell you right now, for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, the FTZ adapter works exceptionally well for the G line of lenses.
Speaking of which, I still got to buy a new FTZ adapter because I do believe mine's bad, but
it works better on the E line than the G, but
and the E line for Hagen. I just meant that like some people criticize it because it doesn't work perfectly on the D line because it doesn't do screw autofocus. But honestly, if you have a DSLR, several DSLRs, and you've had lenses at any time in the last 15 years, then it works fantastically well, and it's even better than on the DSLR. To be honest, it really is.
So Space People just made a comment about how about those Z mount Sigmas that they just announced, and of course they are all APS-C lenses. We talked about that a little bit earlier, Space People, but Frames chimes in with Sigma APS-C lenses indicate some APS-C plan for Nikon, but there is no talk on APS-C, surprisingly. Yeah, I thought that too, Frames. I was going to mention it, but I don't think I will now. I don't think that I'm going to go there saying that this could be an indicator of Nikon's progression in APS-C. I think it's more Sigma's entry into Z-mount lenses with Nikon and whatever agreement they have, more than Nikon asking them to provide for what's coming down the road or any kind of discussion like that. Could be completely wrong, but we shall see. We shall see. And Z5, Michael says Z5 is an amazing camera for the price points. I agree. And a lot of people do agree, and I give it credit like I should. I don't own it, but
I suggested I suggested the Z5 to the gentleman on the thing because two
Right.
reasons. One is I suspect, and this is totally an assumption that could be wrong. I suspect he's not a big video guy. So one of the weaknesses of the Z5 was video. And the other thing is they just did that that firmware update, which evidently has improved its autofocus kind of to the Z6 level. So if he was to buy a used one, he'd get 2 card slots and a nice stills camera, a very nice stills camera. And then he could use all his lenses.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. I agree 100%. And Ray, I hope you don't feel bad that I brought you up, because this is a segment of the Nikon lineup that needs to be discussed. You know, it really does. And I don't know what Nikon's going to do. The Z30, I wouldn't take as an indicator. I don't know. I really don't know where they're going with that, or whether that's going to continue, or I don't know.
Is anyone even on KEH? I wonder what you could get a used Z5 for.
Yeah.
I bet it's
I don't
cheap.
know. So Jet Photo, he's talking about the new lenses by Sigma. They're not necessarily new lenses, and I don't know. I appreciate you chiming in with your information here. But the 56 1.4 and 16 1.4 are good. Don't waste your money on the 30. Okay.
So there's one here. There's one here in like new condition for 963, and there's one in excellent condition for 913.
Is that body only?
Yeah, body only. But like new is like, when they say like new, it's basically new.
Right.
Like, you know, it is new, more or less.
And
even excellent is totally fine. It's like you won't even know the difference probably. And it comes with battery and charger, so you'd still have to get an FTZ, and then you'd be ready to go. You could rock and roll right there.
Fell asked Z30 or Z50.
That's a Z5. Z5. Oh, sorry. Anyway.
No, Fell was asking Z50 or Z30. Both good cameras. I'd go with the Z30 only because it's newer.
Well,
and it has the flip screen. And if
if
you don't
you
need
don't-
EVF,
You're a photographer.
yeah, if you don't want an EVF, right?
yeah. Doing video vlogging, sure.
Yeah, agreed. But for photography, the Z50 hands down.
Yep.
For the money too, I think you get a better deal on the Z50 now.
Hey, Ryan's asking you out on a date, V, to go shoot out at Joshua Tree.
Yeah, never
With
been there. Actually,
with your
Lavina
knock.
goes there all the time.
Yeah.
She shoots there. And I want to also hit up Death Valley, man. Death Valley is some interesting spots over there. I don't know if Baron shot there, but
I have not shot at Death Valley. It sounds that sounds fun.
there's a cool place out a little bit outside of Vegas where it's like the junkyard of casinos, and they have all these signs, and like it looks really cool. I want to shoot there too. You know, the desert.
Yeah, it does look cool.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here in just a few minutes. Got to take Mama to the eye doctor today, meaning they'll dilate her eyes and she can't drive home without destroying the car. So I thought I'd share that little bit of.
Before that, can I just say, someone said Z5s are going for the same price as Z6s, so why get a Z5? And my answer to that would be simple. If you are only worried about stills, I think the Z5 might be the better choice. I think it is a little cheaper, but also if you care about 2 cards, if you don't care about 2 card slots, then it's kind of a toss up. And if you do care about video, it's definitely the Z6. So those are the ways to look at it.
Oh, and here's another point. You know, you can buy those used as well, Ray. I know that the FTZ adapters, you can buy them used as well. As people transition out of their F-glass, and some people just decide they don't need the FTZ anymore, so it comes up used also.
Hey,
and I'm not trying to sell you on anything.
Hey, Frames, I just read your comment about the 51.2 versus the Noct. I have an episode on that, specifically on comparisons. So
what does his comment say?
He said he felt like the 51.2 is better in character than the Noct. Still looking through the photos, but there's a look at the 1.2 that is uncanny. Yeah, I'm gonna compare it with the 58 1.4G lens, the 58 Noct, and the 51.2.
Nice.
And
I look forward to that.
That'll be one episode, just to do that comparison. So
I'm trying to go through the comments here real quick. Frames just got here too late. You're gonna have to join us earlier. Get up in the middle of the night, man. I'm
Hey,
just
I
kidding.
want I want to see Frames and Z-Wade go one-on-one.
Yeah. Frame says, come to Vahagan, come to northeastern India for a shoot and dance with the local tribes. I would actually love to do that.
We all should go do that, but that should be a group trip.
Yeah, man, I would love to do that.
And he's got awesome places to shoot in India, man. Wow.
Yep.
The things I would create there, man. I would love it.
Hey, thank you, sir. We appreciate that and hope you'll join us some more. We have a very international audience here, and often it's reflected in the panel, especially seems on Saturday nights. We have people from all around the globe in the panel even. So appreciate it. Hope you'll drop a like and even consider a subscription. Thank you very much. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the bottom. I think I am now. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up because it'll take a few minutes to get out of here. Long goodbyes are something I can't get away from. But I first want to say thank you, Claire School of Photography, for dropping in. Of course, David Moots from D Moots Photography. Absolutely appreciate you dropping by as well. And of course, we have Vahagan, which everybody knows.
Not everybody.
Yeah,
on,
just
man.
about everybody. Yeah.
If I get up to Jared or Peter McKinnon's level, then maybe, but not everybody.
No, everybody, anybody that's associated with me, I'm sure knows Vahagan. And of course, Baron and I are the lone wolves out here, still trying to make our way in YouTube. And I'd encourage you to go over to Baron's channel, and I'll put all these links in the description so you guys can just click and go here sometime after the show. But Photography Discourse, which is exactly what we've been doing here, is Baron's channel, and he does a great job of highlighting different bits and pieces about Nikon. So if you are a Nikon shooter, you may want to go over there, and he has great insight on what's coming next, or at least his thoughts are very, very I was going to say evocative, but they're not. They make you think, and I really appreciate that from Baron. He's probably 100% right, and I'm 100% wrong, but that's what makes the world go around. And
hey,
Vahagan,
Baron,
of course, you guys know, so make sure you go over and in the event you don't know who he is, check out his channel. And he's just now doing a great series on the Nikon Noct, and it's really what am I going to say here? A review of it is not your typical barrel distortion, brick wall thing, color chart. It's actually using the lens, which is so much nicer to see how it renders and everything else. So you want to get over there and check that out. Even if you are a Vahagan subscriber and you haven't seen that series he's doing, you need to get over there and see that.
And I would also add that even if you weren't a Nikon person, it's a very entertaining series, and
yes,
just to watch from an entertainment standpoint, and some very nice imagery. So
thanks, man.
Yep.
I wouldn't call it a review. I would call it an appreciation series, just because of just the way that the lens is made, and I just want to show my appreciation to the engineers out there. Hey,
That's
Baron.
good.
Baron, a quick question. I'm looking forward, as soon as you get settled out there, in Texas, I'm looking forward to some content from you, man. For out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I am too, man. I've had some struggles moving, as you can imagine. There's been all kinds of problems, and my stuff didn't show up for over 2 weeks longer than it was supposed to, and so I'm, all the regular craziness. So I'm just settling in. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Hey, I do want to bring this comment up. Anybody out there, you've got a battery grip that you prefer, one of the third-party battery grips that you prefer, drop it in the comment in case we don't have time for you to drop it here in the chat for Darren. He's looking for a battery grip, but not necessarily the Nikon battery grip. He wants something that's a little more reasonably priced. So, all right.
Hey, Z-Wade, it's coming, boo. It's gonna come. Don't worry. It's gonna hit you when you're not expecting it. I'm writing the script right now.
Space people, Chuck throwing shade at the Welsh man. Oh, all right. All right, that's it, folks. We're going to wrap it up. Again, thank you very much for those that are in here. It's been a fantastic show. Really appreciate everybody that's been in the panel. We don't always have a large panel like this, but it's been great. A lot of knowledgeable people in here, minus myself. I'm just the wrangler. I open the channel up, and everybody else gets to come in and talk about stuff. Although I do pontificate a bit, I must admit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Saturday night. And if you would like to be on this panel, by all means, send me an email. The information is in the description on how to do it, and it's very simple. The only thing I would caution you on, if you want to do it, is make sure you open the link up in Chrome. For whatever reason, other browsers don't work so well, but Chrome works extremely well. So that said, I'll turn it over to who is in here right now. Vaughan, you got anything you want to say on the way out?
Thank you for having me. Of course, this was a pleasure. Thanks for everybody in the chat, Baron, D-Moots, Claire. Am I missing anybody? Chuck, and it was fun. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Rock and roll.
Baron.
Yeah, I would just second that. I think that it's a nice community. I think people here are very diverse and very interesting, and everyone has something to offer. And I do want to thank Chuck for hosting this. You're one of the most consistent YouTubers I think that I know of, and I think that's impressive in its own right. And I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me. Appreciate our agreements, and I appreciate our disagreements. And I love the discourse. So
no, I do too, Baron. I do too. And
may I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Again, thanks. This is great. Photography Discourse. Subscribe, man. Subscribe to his channel because I love the banter between you two. I love going back and forth the discourse, and that name that Baron has on his channel suits him well. It's perfect. So,
yes,
guys, you gotta subscribe to his channel. And also one more thing I want to add about Chuck Talks. Man, you got a consistent 50 to 60 viewers for the amount of subscribers you have. That's a killer ratio, man. Guys with 20 to 30, 40,000 subscribers can't even pull 10 viewers live. I'm serious.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how it reads as far as the algorithm goes, but I trust you, Vaughan, because I know that you understand it, but I didn't realize that was a big feat, but it's all because of these wonderful people that just want to hang out. I think it's just a place that people can come talk photography, gear, whatever. And that was the reason I started it. My wife could listen to me for about 2 minutes and then she would say, go away. And I had nobody else to talk photography with. So anyway,
I relate to that.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons for having the channel. But thank you very much, Vaughan. Thank all of you that have subscribed. I really appreciate it. And again, we're going to do it all over again on Saturday night, and keep it consistent. Only because I think a lot of people do. They do tune in just to have some background noise, if nothing else. All right. This has been not one of our shorter live streams. So, it is what it is. I've got to go off today. I wish we could stay longer because this has been a great discussion, as I've said. Thank you, Jeff, Leslie, Wildlife and Nature Photography. And I'll put a few more links in my description. I appreciate if you guys that haven't been around would go check out their channels, Selective Imagery with Jeffrey Neville, and so many more. I'm forgetting Z Wade Photo, of course. But anyway, I'll put them all in a link to their channels. If you haven't been there, I'd appreciate if you'd go check them out too. We are the small YouTube folks, and we're just trying to grow and provide something for people that actually they appreciate and enjoy. All right, enough of my long goodbye, but thanks again, and I will see everybody again Saturday night. I don't know what we're going to talk about. That's the other thing I struggle with. Topics are difficult to come by when you stream 104 times a year. All right. And by the way, thanks to, I outsourced my thumbnail production. I'm just kidding. I didn't, but he volunteered to do it. The thumbnail for today's show was done by and provided by none other than Vahagan at Vahography.
What'd you
thank
guys
you very
think?
much, Vahagan.
Something big and bold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do appreciate it, Vahagan. He keeps teaching me, folks. I'll get better. All right. All right. That's it, folks. I will talk to everybody on Saturday. Have a wonderful rest of the week. God bless you all, and I'll see you then.